Chapter 319. Inside a stone house in Blackstone Town on ancient fallen star. 8 black armor guards from the absolute beginning star were standing guard here. The Taichu clan was very strict with the management of these guards. The 8 of them didn't know when Taichu star would come out. Ever since Taichu star brought people away from this formation disk, they had been guarding this place, not daring to leave casually. The 8 people didn't wear helmets. 5 of them were middle-aged, while the other 3 were young. At this time, they hadn't received the news that Genesis star had died. Suddenly, the disk array placed in the middle of the room lit up. When the formation disk lit up, it meant that they were in the teleportation formation. The 8 black armored guards immediately put on their helmets and waited for Genesis star to appear. Under the 8 people's gazes, a slightly plump figure suddenly appeared in the blue light. It was a student that Genesis star had brought with him. Zhuliang City, these 8 people knew each other. After the teleportation, Zhuliang City walked out of the formation disk. He glanced around and found that he was still in Blackstone Town. He couldn't help but sigh in relief. The formation disk could be moved. If Genesis star had taken it away, it would be troublesome. It was worth mentioning that although space could overlap, if the teleportation formation disk was placed in the storage space, it couldn't be activated. The first to appear was Zhuliang City. This surprised the 8 black armor guards, but they didn't do anything to Zhuliang City. Cough, cough. Zhuliang City glanced at the 8 guards and coughed twice to ease his nervousness. Then he smiled and said to the 8, "It's not suitable for you to see what Genesis star is bringing back. Please turn around." As soon as Zhuliang City finished speaking, the 8 black armor guards looked at each other. Although they were confused, they still turned around according to Zhuliang City's request. When they turned around, Yang Tian and Soli appeared on the formation disk. The 2 glanced at the 8 black armored guards with their backs facing them and couldn't help but smile. Yang Tian even gave Zhuliang City a thumbs up. The reason why he had Zhuliang City teleport first was to prevent any accidents. Yang Tian still trusted Zhuliang City. Seeing that Yang Tian and Soli had finally teleported over safely, Zhuliang let out a sigh of relief and said, "Now, you can turn around." Zhuliang City's voice was still echoing in the room when the 8 of them turned around. Seeing Yang Tian and Soli, the people they had followed, the 8 of them immediately realized that something must have happened to Absolute Beginning Star. "I don't want to fight with you. You should obediently wait here for your master. You should be back in about an hour." After saying that, Yang Tian walked outside with Soli and Zhuliang Shi. What happened? Questions appeared in the hearts of the 8 people. They were very puzzled by this strange situation. But soon, someone reacted. Before Yang Tian and the other 2 walked out of the door, a black armor guard shouted, "All of you stop." Yang Tian, Soli, and Zhuliang had no choice but to stop. Zhuliang City sighed helplessly. He turned around and looked at the 8 black armor guards. "Why can't you let us leave quietly? Aren't you courting death?" Zhuliang City could already predict what would happen next. A few seconds later, the house made of black stone emitted a few bangs, and then it became quiet again. Soon, Yang Tian, Soli, and Zhuliang City walked out of the stone house. The 8 black armor guards had been killed by Yang Tian. In fact, Yang Tian didn't want to do this. Otherwise, he wouldn't have lied to them and said that Absolute Beginning Star would be back in about an hour. Just as Zhuliang City said, these people were courting death. So be it. Yang Tian didn't feel guilty at all. These 8 guards were good people. Yang Tian didn't believe that. As for the disc array, Yang Tian didn't waste it. He had already put it in his storage bracelet. This was because Soli told him that if he collected some disc arrays in the process of training, they could be used as life-saving tools in the future or when he encountered a strong enemy. Moreover, this disc array was extremely valuable. 1 disc array was equivalent to the value of 10 black dragon ships of Yang Tian. The 3 of them immediately left Blackstone Town and returned to the place where they came from through the small path. On the hillside, the guard in the gazebo had changed. It was also a fierce-looking big man. However, when he saw that it was Yang Tian and the others, He didn't say a word and let Yang Tian and the others leave. Because not long ago, the big man in the gazebo was killed by Gua. With such a harsh environment, naturally, not many strong people would come here. Only some weak people who were wanted and couldn't survive in the outside world would hide on this planet and live a muddled life. Because Yang Tian and the others left in time, they kept changing their route along the way and all used teleportation to return. On the way back to the Superstar Academy, no one intercepted them. When they entered the gate of the Superstar Academy, Yang Tian, Soli, and Zhuyang City all breathed a sigh of relief. In the endless universe, there was a huge silver-white ball floating. This man-made ball was twice as big as the moon. This was a mobile fortress made by some big families in the universe. If a big family placed a big business on a planet that couldn't be moved casually, it was inevitable that it would be attacked by others. It was also very easy for the enemy to destroy it. They just had to blow up the entire planet. Building such a mobile fortress avoided this problem. It could move at any time. In the universe, it could go wherever it wanted and wouldn't be locked by the enemy. A big family could exist for a long time in the universe precisely because they built such a mobile fortress. This huge silver-white ball was the mobile fortress of the Taichu family. Living in this mobile fortress was exactly the same as living on a planet with a beautiful environment. The huge silver-white shell blocked the radiation in the universe. On the inner side, there was a huge display screen that simulated the blue sky and white clouds on the planet. Thousands of meters away from the shell was a huge sphere. On the sphere was land and sea. Small cities were built on the land and islands in the sea. Such a mobile fortress was not so much a fortress as an artificial planet. The designer who designed this kind of living space integrated all human expectations for the environment into such a mobile fortress. Inside, the temperature was always maintained at a comfortable temperature for the human body. In some places, the temperature could be increased to create a sunny beach. The natural disasters that could happen on any planet did not exist here. The people of the Taichu family lived in such a mobile fortress. Except for the people of the Taichu family, no one else knew that such a planet was actually a man-made fortress. The patriarch of the Taichu family lived like an emperor in such a man-made fortress. Within the mobile fortress, in a luxurious palace on an island in the sea, the current patriarch of the Taichu family, Taichu Buong, was taking a leisurely stroll in the back garden. Next to him were several beautiful young women. Taichu Buong had lived for more than 1,000 years and had always been in control of the Taichu family. His current cultivation realm was a super area lord, a famous elite in the universe. Whoosh, just as he was happily flirting with the beautiful women. Suddenly, a silver-white ball flew over and stopped in front of Taichu Buong. Seeing this ping-pong-sized flying object, Taichu Buong frowned because he knew that something bad had happened. The smile on Taichu Buong's face disappeared. He waved his hand, and the young women knew that Taichu Buong had something important to do, so they left the garden. Chapter 320. Speak. What's the matter? After the few beautiful young ladies left, Buong Tai Chu said indifferently. A clear female voice came from the silver white metal ball. Master, there's bad news. Absolute Beginning Star has been killed by someone called Yang Tian. Yang Tian is a new student of the Superstar Academy. This is what happened. The metal ball spoke at an extremely fast speed, narrating what happened. During this process, Buong Tai Chu only frowned slightly. Even though Absolute Beginning Star was one of Buong Tai Chu's sons, he had many children. Their relationship wasn't like a normal father and son relationship. It was very close. Plus, after 1,000 years of cultivation and being in charge of the Tai Chu family, Buong Tai Chu had long treated relationships lightly. Advanced technology, along with cultivation, could extend a human's lifespan by several times. Dozens of times, warriors who had lived for a long time are usually unwilling to raise their descendants. Because of the long years, the number of descendants would increase. In the end, a family's population would continue to increase without limit. This wasn't good for a family's development. With more people, the family's resources would be spread out. Plus, the more people there were, the more power struggles there would be, and it would be hard to manage. Hence, one could only control the family's population within a certain range. Many ancient families in the universe, every member had a limit to their reproduction. The Taichu family was the same. Every 5 years or so, Taichu Bohong would give birth to a child with his woman. 1,000 years had passed, and he had over 200 children. As for the absolute beginning star, she was one of the youngest children. Bohong Tai Chu went silent for a while. Logically speaking, absolute beginning star's death wasn't unjust. He accepted the training program and was afraid of danger. But when others accepted it, he became jealous and followed behind them, even sending the family's experts to kill them. However, absolute beginning star was after all a direct descendant of the Taichu family. No matter what, the Taichu family couldn't lose face. Otherwise, if this matter were to spread, the people of the Taichu clan would be mocked and bullied by others outside. Even though they didn't have such a strong father and son relationship, he was still a biological son, a life passed down from him. Tell absolute beginning stone star to make a trip. If he doesn't kill Yang Tian, don't let him return. After a while, Bohong Tai Chu finally opened his mouth and said indifferently, "Yes, master." After the metal ball finished speaking, it flew away with a swoosh. In the ocean of this artificial planet, there were many small islands. At this moment, on a small island, a muscular man with short hair was sitting on the beach of the island. Beside him, there was a black, triangular short sword stabbed into the ground. This person was the primordial stone star, a star-level domain lord elite. Unlike the other disciples, primordial stone star was extremely focused on cultivation. While the other disciples were having fun, he was cultivating. When the disciples of other clans went out, they would be accompanied by a group of guards who were hired at a high price. However, he had always gone out alone to gain experience. Although his cultivation talent was not the most outstanding in the Taichu clan, his combat ability was the strongest among the younger generation. Primordial Stone Star had its eyes closed as it sensed the cells in its body. Cultivation was, in fact, evolution, continuous evolution. It would become a new life form that was more and more suitable for the environment, and its survival ability and means would continue to grow stronger. Therefore, no matter what kind of power one cultivated, in reality, it was a kind of microscopic cultivation. It was just like how Yang Tian controlled the cells in his body. Swoosh! Primordial Stone Star was immersed in sensing the cells in his body when suddenly there was the sound of wind. A silver ball the size of a ping-pong ball appeared and hovered in front of him. This intelligent auxiliary device was controlled by an AI program. It knew that Primordial Stone Star was cultivating, so it did not make a sound. It only hovered quietly and waited. Primordial Stone Star also heard the sound of the auxiliary device, but he did not immediately end his sensing. He continued with his eyes closed. About half an hour later, Primordial Stone Star opened his eyes. "Master, there is a mission." The support device quickly reported the information about Absolute Beginning Star and Yang Tian to him at an extremely fast speed. Primordial Stone Star's face was calm when he heard such a mission. He said lightly, "I can't enter the Superstar Academy. If Yang Tian keeps hiding in the Superstar Academy, how can I kill him?" After Primordial Stone Star finished speaking, the auxiliary device said, "Master, the Patriarch did not set a time limit." Primordial Stone Star nodded, pulled out the black, triangular short sword, and stood up. After more than 10 minutes, Primordial Stone Star left the huge fortress of the Primordial family through the teleportation disk. After receiving the news that Primordial Stone Star was on the move, Primordial Stone Star thought about it and issued a bounty for Yang Tian. Once this bounty was issued, if Yang Tian left the Superstar Academy, even if he did not encounter Primordial Stone Star, he would be hunted down after being discovered. This kind of bounty would, of course, not be made public. It would only circulate in secret. The large amount of star crystals as a reward would make many cultivators in the universe jealous. Not long after, when Yang Tian received this news, he finally had the idea of forming a team. At the same time, in the Superstar Academy. When Yang Tian returned to the Superstar Academy and learned from the academy system that Qin Fei had come to the academy, he regretted it so much. It had been a few hours, but Yang Tian was still sitting in the living room, looking at Qin Fei's three-dimensional image. Xiaolong, look, little Fei has become much more beautiful, haha. She's my wife. If the other students knew, they would be envious of me. Hearing this, the little blue dragon, who was lying on the table nibbling on a piece of barbecued meat, could not help but roll its eyes at Yang Tian. In the beginning, the little blue dragon was still excitedly squeaking in response to Yang Tian because it also missed Qin Fei very much. The little blue dragon had a very good impression of Qin Fei because Qin Fei gave it a very warm feeling. However, after Yang Tian said this dozens of times, the little blue dragon could only roll its eyes at Yang Tian. Ding! Suddenly, there was a notification sound. There was a message. Yang Tian could only turn off Qin Fei's three-dimensional image and open the message. It was a notification from the academy that he had completed the training project. 50,000 credits had been transferred to his account. Seeing this message, Yang Tian smiled happily. He had not been in the academy for long, and he had already obtained 50,000 credits. For Yang Tian, this was a great sense of accomplishment. Yang Tian was just about to close the message when another notification came. When he opened the message, it turned out that it was a notification for Yang Tian to go for the assessment. After passing the assessment, he could become an advanced student. After becoming an advanced student, he would be able to obtain more information about the academy. After closing the message, Yang Tian glanced at the living room and felt a little emotional. From the time he lived in this building 188, he had not even stayed for 10 days. He had to move out again. Chapter 321. Boom! Yang Tian punched out, and the force of the punch hit the mountain wall, creating a huge crater with a diameter of more than 10 meters and a depth of about 5 meters. The shockwave from the explosion blew the surrounding rocks in all directions. Huff! After punching out, Yang Tian let out a long breath and turned around. The Shenwu professor was sitting on a clean rock behind Yang Tian, holding a silver-white drink bottle in his hand and tasting the delicious drink. Seeing Yang Tian looking at him, the Shenwu professor smiled and said, "Very good, you have passed the test. From today onwards, you are an advanced student of the Superstar Academy. Congratulations." Yang Tian smiled and nodded. In fact, Yang Tian was not in a hurry to take the test, but the Shenwu professor took the initiative to come to him. Naturally, it was Soli who told the professor that Yang Tian had reached the star state. Soli was not telling on him, so Yang Tian naturally did not care about this small matter. Soon, Yang Tian set his eyes on the silver-white drink bottle in the Shenwu professor's hand. Previously, when he saw the Shenwu professor tasting the drink, Yang Tian thought that the old man was drinking. Later, he found out that alcohol was also a unique invention of Earth. Outside of Earth, there was no such drink as alcohol. Seeing Yang Tian staring at the drink in his hand, the Shenwu professor smiled and waved for Yang Tian to come over. Yang Tian nodded and sat on a rock next to the Shenwu professor. Huff! As soon as Yang Tian sat down, there was the sound of wind. Then, a green shadow appeared in front of Yang Tian and landed on his shoulder. The little blue dragon that was playing nearby finally had enough and flew back. Looking at the little blue dragon on Yang Tian's shoulder, the Shenwu professor said with a smile, "Your star beast is not bad." Yang Tian remembered that this was the second time Professor Shenwu had said something like this. At this time, Yang Tian was moved and asked, "Professor, may I ask if you know where the Dragon Star Field is?" After hearing Yang Tian's question, the little blue dragon's eyes widened. Just like Yang Tian, he looked at Professor Shenwu with an expectant gaze. Dragon Starfield. The professor frowned as he muttered to himself. A look of reminiscence appeared on his face. Yang Tian and the little blue dragon saw the expression on the professor's face and couldn't help but worry. Even if he had to recall it, he probably wouldn't have much of an impression of it. Moments later, the professor said, That's an extremely distant star field. There's no teleportation formation that leads there. If you take a spaceship, you'll have to fly for several years. I'm not sure where it is. So far, Yang Tian and the little blue dragon widened their eyes in surprise. It was far from a problem. It would just take a bit more time, but they didn't know where it was. The universe was so big. Where would they find it? Seeing the disappointment in Yang Tian and the little blue dragon's eyes, the professor smiled. Although I don't know. I know who knows. Who? Yang Tian asked. Superstar God Temple, High Priest Kaya. The professor said. Kaya? Yang Tian said with a frown. That's right. The professor said, Kaya is the oldest high priest of Superstar God Temple. What we know, he knows. What we don't know, he knows. It said that there's no problem that can stump him. So powerful. Yang Tian was very surprised. If Kaya was the #1 expert in the universe, Yang Tian wouldn't find it strange. But no problem could stump him. This sounded like bragging. One had to know that in this universe, there were too many things that humans didn't know. If a person knew everything, then they wouldn't be called a person, but a god. Seeing Yang Tian's eyes, the professor smiled. Kaya doesn't know everything, but he can answer questions we don't know. Because in the universe, there are many things we haven't seen or heard of. Since that's the case, we won't ask questions about these unknown things. Simply put, the professor's words were like Kaya knew more than others. After speaking, the professor pointed at the little blue dragon and said, in the universe, many people know that this beast is a star beast. There are many people in the universe who have star beasts like you. However, no one knows where this star beast comes from. Even they themselves aren't very clear about it. Gee. After the professor finished speaking, the little blue dragon let out a few low cries. The professor was right. After the dragon awakened its inherited memories, it only knew that its home was a beautiful star field or some other things. However, it didn't know its exact location in the universe. Don't worry, Xiaolong. I'll definitely help you find your home. Yang Tian comforted the little blue dragon again. After comforting the little blue dragon, Yang Tian asked, how can I see Kaya? The professor said, Kaya will only answer questions from subordinates of the Superstar God Temple. If you want to see him, then work hard to become a divine general. When you become an advanced student and enter the school system, you'll receive a prompt. At the end of the year, the Superstar God Temple will choose 5 students to become Superstar God Temple's divine generals. The one with the strongest combat power would become the chief divine general. If you can become a divine general, not only can you ask Kaya questions, you can also meet the goddess. Work hard. When you're strong to a certain extent, no problems will be a problem. Hearing this, Yang Tian narrowed his eyes and nodded. Seeing Yang Tian's determined expression, the professor smiled. This old man has answered your question. Now, it's time for you to answer this old man's question. Why do you keep looking at the bottle in this old man's hand? This. Yang Tian scratched his head and said, looking at the way you're drinking, it reminds me of a drink in my hometown. Yang Tian explained to Professor Shun Wu about the drink called wine in detail. If you drink too much, you'll get muddle-headed. The taste isn't very good, and it's also harmful to the body. This drink. The professor rubbed his chin and muttered for a while before finally saying, make some for this old man to try. Yang Tian heard the professor talk about the drink's shortcomings and thought that the professor didn't like it. He didn't expect him to make some for him to try. Why? Yang Tian didn't understand. The professor said, because it has many shortcomings, but so many people drink it. It must be something good. Yang Tian. After parting with the professor, Yang Tian returned to the intermediate student area. He didn't expect Soli to be sitting at his door, as if she had been waiting for a long time. Seeing Yang Tian return, Soli stood up and smiled at Yang Tian. Congratulations! You become an advanced student. After Soli said this, Yang Tian smiled. You didn't wait for me here to say this, right? Soli nodded very straightforwardly. What I want to tell you is that the Taichu family has issued a bounty for you. If there's nothing else, you'd better stay in the academy. Also, I'll become an advanced student soon. After saying this, Soli turned around and left. What a strong woman! Yang Tian thought as he looked at Soli's back. Chapter 3:22. Superstar Academy was a place to nurture the strong. As long as a student left the academy, their life and death had nothing to do with the academy. The academy would not care. Just like Yang Tian killing the absolute beginning star, the academy definitely knew about it, but they did not mention it. But if Yang Tian did such a thing in the academy, he would be severely punished. Similarly, no matter how big a crime a student committed outside, as long as it had nothing to do with the Superstar Temple and the Superstar Academy, the Academy would not let anyone chase after them. Although Yang Tian had not been in the Academy for a long time, he knew this rule. As for the absolute beginning family's bounty and sending people to kill him, Yang Tian was not worried. He knew that as long as he stayed in the Academy, he would be safe. Of course, Yang Tian also understood that it was impossible to stay in the Academy for the rest of his life. Only by becoming stronger was the right path. At that time, no matter how many people came, he would kill them all, until the other party could not bear it or was afraid. This matter increased Yang Tian's motivation. As the saying goes, the greater the pressure, the greater the motivation. Returning to Building 188, Yang Tian simply tidied up his tools and packed all his daily necessities into his backpack. After packing up, Yang Tian asked for a car at the entrance of the intermediate student area and went to the entrance of the advanced student area. Soon, Yang Tian changed the intermediate student card to the advanced student card. Like Yang Tian, who became an advanced student from an intermediate student at an extremely fast speed, it was rare in the history of the Superstar Academy. The Academy's hierarchy was very strict. The higher the status in the Academy, the better the treatment one could enjoy. In this world, the stronger the person, the fewer the number. From ordinary humans to the top powerhouses, it was a pyramid structure. It was the same in the Superstar Academy. The number of beginner students was the most, more than 5 times the number of intermediate students, and intermediate students were more than 10 times the number of advanced students. Why was the number getting smaller and smaller? Because students who entered the Superstar Academy had to go through an assessment every once in a while. Those who did not pass would be expelled from the academy. Of course, this assessment was designed for each student according to the student situation. To put it bluntly, the main test was the speed of the student's improvement. For example, when Shi Guanghao entered Superstar Academy, he was just an ordinary person. After a period of time, the requirements for his assessment would be much lower than others. In the Superstar Academy, there were less than 300 advanced students. According to the ratio, there were probably less than 10 people who could break through the star grade and enter the superstar grade. Although the number of advanced students was the smallest, their territory was the largest. Here, Yang Tian's house was a luxuriously decorated villa with a beautiful exterior. Yang Tian's villa was numbered 099. It was located in the middle of the villa area. After opening the door with the advanced student card, a silver-white metal ball flew towards Yang Tian with a whoosh. Slap! The silver-white metal ball was only 1 meter away from Yang Tian when the little blue dragon rushed out and slapped the metal ball with its claws. This high-tech auxiliary device was smashed into a pile of parts by the little blue dragon. Xiaolong. Seeing the pile of scattered electronic parts at his feet, Yang Tian looked at the little blue dragon and didn't know what to say. It wasn't the little blue dragon's fault. Who asked it to be round? Moreover, it had suddenly rushed over. Yang Tian was already very familiar with the student system. He opened the academy system in the living room and reported what had just happened. In less than 5 minutes, another ping-pong-sized auxiliary device flew over. This time, the little blue dragon didn't make a mistake again. Among the 3 levels of students, only the advanced students were qualified to have this kind of intelligent auxiliary device. The high intelligence made this kind of auxiliary device like a butler. In addition to the intelligent auxiliary device, there was some other high-tech equipment in the villa. Among them, there was a robot that could help Yang Tian do housework. Master, from now on, I am your auxiliary device. In the academy, if you need anything, just tell me. You can change my name to make it easier to contact. The auxiliary device hovering beside Yang Tian quickly introduced its functions to Yang Tian. "From now on, I'll call you Belle. Use a young girl's voice," Yang Tian said with a smile. "Yes, master." The auxiliary device was originally a stiff, synthetic voice, but this time it had changed into a gentle female voice. After changing her voice and responding, Belle reminded Yang Tian, "Master, you have an unread message." Yang Tian immediately let Belle open the academy system and pulled out the message. Professor Shun would already told Yang Tian about this message. It was about the Superstar God Temple selection of divine generals. This message was much more detailed than what Professor Shenwu said. Not only did it list the time and selection method, but it also explained the star domain. The Superstar God Temple had a large area of influence and controlled countless interstellar empires. Naturally, they needed manpower. Compared to recruiting experts from outside, the Superstar God Temple believed more in the talents that they nurtured. To many people, working in the Superstar God Temple was something that they could only wish for because they had a huge backer like the Superstar God Temple. But at the same time, they had to take risks. As a divine general of the Superstar God Temple, it was not enough to just sit there every day. Many times, they had to fight. Not only did they have to fight with humans, but they also had to fight with other races. The strong races in the universe were not only humans, but also other life forms, such as the beast race, the insect race, and so on. The dragon race that the little blue dragon belonged to was a branch of the beast race. If there was a battle, there would be death. The Superstar God Temple controlled a large area, and almost every moment, there were temple warriors dying. Regarding this, Yang Tian did not feel that it was difficult to accept. In this world, there was never anything that could be obtained without sowing. Regardless of whether it was material or spiritual, it was the same. To Yang Tian, time was tight. This was because the selection would be held at the end of the year. There was only half a year left. It should be known that although the advanced students were all star grade powerhouses, the star grade realm was also divided into several grades. If one wanted to be selected by the temple, they would have to advance 3 grades within half a year. At the very least, they would have to reach the Starlord grade. Given Yang Tian's combat strength, which allowed him to fight across grades, he would have a chance of challenging the advanced students at the Starlord grade. How could he advance his grade as quickly as possible? Yang Tian was a little vexed. If he were to say this idea out loud, others would think that he was delusional. However, Yang Tian had already experienced rapid advancement. Back on Earth, Yang Tian had advanced from beginner martialist to an advanced martialist in half a year. That was why he was so anxious. "Master, someone wants to challenge you." At that moment, a bell rang out and reminded Yang Tian. Chapter 323. Yang Tian was confused and asked, "What battle?" Bell said, "The battle comes from outside the academy. Someone called Absolute Beginning Stone Star wants to battle you. The time and place will be up to you. Absolute Beginning Stone Star is a star domain lord. He knows that you are a star warrior, so he will not fight you personally. He will send someone of the same realm to fight you." So it was the house of Absolute Beginning. This was to be expected. Yang Tian killed Absolute Beginning Star. If the house of Absolute Beginning did not react at all, that would be weird. What if I don't agree? Yang Tian smiled coldly. Bell said, "Master, you can of course reject them. They cannot enter the academy. However, there are people from the house of Absolute Beginning among the advanced students." Bell's intelligence was very high. It reminded Yang Tian. "What is the name of the advanced student from the house of Absolute Beginning?" Yang Tian asked. Bell replied, "Absolute Beginning Yao, Star Warrior rank." Star Warrior rank. Yang Tian was not afraid. Should he accept the battle? Yang Tian began to consider. Absolute Beginning Stone Star actually set his realm. Was he not afraid that he would not accept the battle? After a while, Yang Tian made his decision and said, "I agree to the battle." The location, behind the academy. The time, 3 days later. Superstar Academy's entrance. Master Stone Star. Yang Tian will definitely reject. A subordinate beside Absolute Beginning Stone Star looked inside the academy and shook his head. You are a star domain lord, and Yang Tian is just a star warrior. The difference in strength is too big. Absolute Beginning Stone Star crossed his arms and looked inside the academy. He said lightly, "Whether he agrees or not is his business. Whether I accept the battle or not is my business." Although Absolute Beginning Stone Star came alone, he did not like to deal with trivial matters. He used some of the guards from the House of Absolute Beginning on planet Kytra. Absolute Beginning Stone Star's main goal in this battle was not to kill Yang Tian, but to see Yang Tian. Of course, it would be best if Yang Tian agreed to fight with the subordinates he sent out and died in the process. As soon as the Primordial Stone Star finished speaking, the guard at the door replied, "Yang Tian has replied. In 3 days, at the back mountain of the college." He really agreed. Isn't he afraid that you won't keep your promise and kill him yourself? Primordial Stone Star's subordinate was puzzled. Primordial Stone Star looked at his subordinate with disdain. Not everyone is weak. A person with a strong heart is not afraid of any challenge. No matter what method he uses, as long as he accepts the challenge, I admire him very much. With that, Primordial Stone Star turned around and left. 2 days later. How is it? Is it good? On the balcony of Yang Tian's villa, Yang Tian was holding a cylindrical container. He looked at the Shinwu professor who was drinking a large glass of strong liquor and asked expectantly, "Burp." After downing a glass of wine, the Shinwu professor burped and his face turned red. "It doesn't taste good, and there's some poison that can numb the nerves." Listening to the professor's analysis, Yang Tian scratched his head and smiled bitterly. Squeak, squeak. At this time, the little blue dragon that was lying on the side cried out and looked at Yang Tian with anticipation. This guy wanted to drink too. Yang Tian smiled as he took a transparent glass from the table and poured himself a glass. On Earth, only the glass used for drinking beer would be this big. The little blue dragon jumped and landed in front of the glass. He stuck his head in and buried it in the glass. At this time, the alcohol in the glass was quickly decreasing. Slap, before the little blue dragon could finish the alcohol in the glass, the professor had slapped both him and the glass away. While the glass was transparent, it was not fragile glass. It did not shatter. The little blue dragon jumped up from the ground and looked at the professor angrily. Ignoring the little blue dragon's murderous eyes, the professor looked at Yang Tian and said, "Another glass." Yang Tian chuckled and poured another glass for the professor. After 5 glasses in a row, the Shinwu professor couldn't even speak properly. Again, one more glass. Yang Tian said helplessly, "I only made this in 2 days. That's all I have." The professor waved his hand and said, "Then go and make some more." Yang Tian said, "I can't. I don't have time." The professor was drunk and looked at Yang Tian with confused eyes and asked, "Why don't you have time?" Yang Tian said, "I have an appointment tomorrow. If the Primordial Stone Star doesn't keep its promise and kills me, I won't be able to make wine for you anymore." Ha ha! As soon as Yang Tian finished, the professor laughed. Seeing the professor laughing, Yang Tian knew that the old man was not drunk to the point of losing his mind. He chuckled embarrassedly. "Don't worry," the professor said, "helping you to kill the Primordial Stone Star is impossible, but I can guarantee fairness." With the professor's guarantee, Yang Tian was finally relieved. Sure enough, it was easy to talk over wine. The reason why Yang Tian agreed to the Primordial Stone Star challenge was because he thought of this. If he asked the professor for help for no reason, he would be embarrassed. Making wine for the professor was a kind of exchange. As for making wine, it was easy for Yang Tian. All he had to do was find some utensils, buy some fruits, and use bacteria to ferment. On Earth, even the monkeys in the mountains knew how to make wine. This wine was called monkey wine. Not far away from the Superstar Academy, on the empty ground in front of a luxurious mansion, there was a row of more than 20 people. The Primordial Stone Star was sitting on the ground, scratching its head. Peng Ugh, a young man in his late 20s wearing silver-white armor, was sent flying by Taichu Yao's slap. "Too weak. Next," Taichu Yao said with a frown after defeating his opponent. Although Taichu Yao was an advanced student, he did not stay in the academy. Instead, he stayed in this mansion not far away from the academy. Both Taichu Yao and Taichu Shishing belonged to the same generation in the Taichu clan's collateral family. Both of them looked similar with short hair. At this time, Taichu Yao was choosing the candidates to fight with Yang Tian the next day. Primordial Stone Star did not care much about the challenge, but Taichu Yao was different. His idea was to kill Yang Tian in the challenge. Pung, pung, pung. More than 20 Stellar Warrior level elites were all defeated by Taichu Yao in less than 10 minutes. Without exception, these people could not even take one hit from Taichu Yao. After sending everyone away, Taichu Yao looked at Primordial Stone Star and said with a frown, "These people are not suitable candidates." Primordial Stone Star raised his head and looked at Taichu Yao with a smile. "Then go ahead. According to my analysis, Yang Tian is not that easy to deal with. He has created a terrifying power. This time, I just want to see it for myself." "I know." Taichu Yao sneered. "Maybe there is someone suitable. You were talking about Zhu Wei, right?" Primordial Stone Star smiled. Taichu Yao nodded. "This person has a mysterious background, just like Yang Tian. His forte lay in his strange combat skills. Among all the people I have seen, he is the one who can unleash his combat skills to the extreme. To be honest, although I am one level higher than him, I am not confident that I can defeat him." Chapter 324. The next morning, Yang Tian woke up early to prepare for today's duel. Huff, huff, huff. After tidying up, Yang Tian pushed open the door to the room where the Shinwu professor was sleeping. The smell of alcohol wafted out. At this time, the Shinwu professor was lying on the bed, snoring softly. Yang Tian scratched his head, wondering if the old man had forgotten what happened yesterday. Yang Tian was about to speak when the Shinwu professor murmured, "You go first. I'll sleep for a while more." After the Shinwu professor said that, he smacked his lips a few times and fell asleep again. Yang Tian was helpless. He gently closed the door and brought the little blue dragon out of Villa 099, walking quickly to the back door of the advanced student area. Behind the academy was a stretch of short mountains. Since the academy was built, students often fought here. It was said that this place used to be beautiful, but since the students often fought here, it was destroyed into a desolate place. The students of the Superstar Academy were all very powerful. When they fought, their destructive power was very shocking. The news of Yang Tian and the Taichu family's duel had spread throughout the academy yesterday. In fact, Yang Tian didn't know that he had become a celebrity in the academy. Taichu Shishing and Taichu Yao, as well as a middle-aged man with long black hair wearing tiger-patterned black armor, arrived at this place at dawn. They stayed on a short mountain and waited quietly. This middle-aged man with long black hair was Zhu Wei. Zhu Wei's weapon was a short knife. The scabbard was a little curved, and compared to the embroidered spring knife of the Ming Dynasty in ancient China, it was too similar. Zhu Wei sat cross-legged with his eyes closed. His expression was very calm. Taichu Shishing was casually squatting with a grass stalk in his mouth. He looked unrestrained as he quietly looked in the direction of the academy. Beside him, there was a black triangular dagger. Taichu Yao was frowning as he slowly paced around. It was obvious that his heart was not calm. The mountain that the three of them were on was the highest in the area. At a glance, they could see everything within 1,000 meters. Yang Tian hadn't arrived yet, but the students of the academy had already rushed over in large numbers. Almost all the students who had received the news had arrived. Yang Tian had now become a celebrity in the academy. Everyone knew that he had only been in the academy for a few days, but he had already advanced from an intermediate student to an advanced student. Also, Yang Tian had killed Genesis Star. Even in the fair and free Superstar Academy, the children of a big family like the Taichu family were extremely arrogant and had offended many people. Yang Tian's actions made many of the students who had been bullied by the aristocratic families feel very relieved. Some of them came with the intention of supporting Yang Tian. Not counting the above reasons, the Superstar Academy was a place that cultivated the power of slaughter and destruction. A duel between masters was enough to attract a lot of people. Soli was wearing a brand new black armor with long blue hair. She stood on top of a hill not far from Primordial Stone and the others. There was no one around her. Everyone knew that she was a very abnormal battle maniac and didn't dare to get close to her. Otherwise, they would be dragged by her to spar at any time. How could they stand it? Seven Light, Hao, and a group of low-level students stood far away, each holding a telescope. These people glanced around from time to see if Yang Tian had arrived. Naturally, he had also arrived at Zhuliang City. A few of his good friends had been killed by Soli and Yang Tian, and the remaining few had alienated him. Zhuliang City seemed very lonely in the middle school student area. Not only the students of the academy, but even some of the professors and cultivators from the outside world had come here. Within a few miles, thousands of people had gathered. This kid, he's restless no matter where he goes. Is it because of his personality or fate? Immeasurable Star Lord, who had been watching Yang Tian, naturally also came here at this time. At this time, he was sitting on the ground and muttering to himself. Next to Immeasurable Star Lord, a black armor guard was holding a device that looked like a camera and was recording the surrounding situation. Master Star Lord, will Lady Goddess be worried when she sees this? The guard said while recording the scene. Immeasurable Star Lord smiled and said, she definitely won't be worried. When the guard heard that, he immediately understood what Immeasurable Star Lord meant. This master would not let anything sad happen to his daughter, and Lady Goddess naturally knew this. The recorded scene was transmitted at the right time. Due to the extreme distance from the Superstar Divine Temple, it would be delayed by about a few tenths of a second. To the humans on Earth, such a short time could not even be called a delay. In the Goddess Palace of the Superstar Divine Temple, Qin Fei was sitting cross-legged on the ground, covered with white animal skin with her eyes wide open. She was staring at the projection in front of her without blinking. Such a scene was, of course, a 3D image. In order to let his daughter see clearly, Immeasurable Star Lord had scattered several of his subordinates everywhere. The recorded scene would be calculated and processed to form such a three-dimensional image. Although Yang Tian had not appeared yet, Qin Fei was very nervous. In her heart, she was not just looking forward to it. When a star that shone on Ketla Star had just risen and a golden halo appeared, Yang Tian finally appeared. As usual, Yang Tian was dressed very casually. He was wearing the loose black clothes provided by the academy. His long hair, which had rapidly grown out, was not tied up, fluttering in the morning wind. The little blue dragon was squatting on Yang Tian's shoulder, its upper body upright as it coldly scanned the surroundings. Yang Tian had finally arrived. Many people heaved a sigh of relief. They were worried that Yang Tian would not keep the appointment. So handsome. In the Goddess Palace of the Superstar Divine Temple, Qin Fei's eyes widened when she saw Yang Tian appear. She had a love-struck expression on her face as she exclaimed in surprise. The white-robed maid beside Qin Fei, Larry, was the closest to Qin Fei. Naturally, she knew what Qin Fei meant by handsome. Was he handsome? Looking at his appearance, he was not a handsome man. However, his temperament was really charming. Larry thought to herself. After being by Qin Fei's side for so long, it was the first time Larry saw such an expression on Qin Fei's face. She suddenly felt that the goddess in front of her was really hopeless. Yang Tian raised his head and glanced around. He knew who was waiting for him and walked straight to the short mountain where Primordial Stone Star was. At that moment, Primordial Stone Star and Zhu Wei both stood up and stood in the morning wind. This was a form of respect for their opponent. Seeing Yang Tian appear, Primordial Stone Star could not help but let out a sigh of relief and sat down. Soon, Yang Tian arrived at the foot of the short mountain. With a light leap, he jumped onto the short mountain and stood about 10 meters away from Primordial Stone Star and the other two. Yang Tian quickly noticed Zhu Wei. This was because he was a person with black hair like him. In the universe, Yang Tian had seen many black-haired people. However, their black hair was different from the black hair of the Easter humans on Earth. There was a slight difference in color. Chapter 325. The moment he saw Zhu Wei, Yang Tian had a strange feeling. This person was the same as him. They both came from Earth. Yang Tian was about to ask when the primordial stone star said with a smile, "You are very bold. You know that I am a stellar domain lord and much stronger than you, yet you still dare to come." The primordial stone star nodded as he said this. His eyes were filled with admiration. The primordial stone star introduced himself. "I am the primordial stone star, a member of the primordial clan. If you win this time, I can guarantee that I will have a fair duel with you. However, I can't do anything about the people who want to kill you because of the bounty." Stone Star. Primordial Stone Star had just finished speaking when Primordial Stone Star had just stood up. He had never imagined that the Primordial Stone Star would make such a promise to Yang Tian. A fair duel. In other words, the Primordial Stone Star would only act when Yang Tian had cultivated to the same level as the Primordial Stone Star. No one knew how long it would take for a stellar warrior to become a stellar domain lord. Moreover, the Primordial Stone Star wouldn't stop advancing during this process. The Primordial Stone Star represented the Primordial Clan. Enough nonsense. Let's begin. The Primordial Stone Star said to Yang Tian after glancing at the displeased Primordial Stone Star. He was very straightforward. With that, Primordial Stone Star turned around and walked down the short mountain. "It's about to begin. I'm really looking forward to it. The person called Zhu Wei has a mysterious background. I heard that his combat skills are extremely powerful. Yang Tian isn't weak either. He was able to fight Battle Maniac to a standstill at the same level as soon as he entered the academy. Yeah, I heard that he created a terrifying power. Even Sir Shenwu had to step in to stop him. I really hope that Yang Tian can kill Zhu Wei. Although I don't have any ill intentions towards Zhu Wei, he is now representing the Primordial Clan." When the Primordial Stone Star left the short mountain, everyone knew that the duel between Yang Tian and Zhu Wei was about to begin. The onlookers started to discuss among themselves, looking forward to the upcoming battle. Since Primordial Stone Star had left, there was nothing Primordial Yao could do. After being stunned for a moment, he frowned and left as well. Only Yang Tian and Zhu Wei were left on the hill. At this time, Yang Tian could finally ask the question he wanted to ask. "Earthlings?" Yang Tian asked. Yang Tian wrote these 3 words in Chinese. When Zhu Wei heard this language, his eyes suddenly widened. Obviously, he understood Yang Tian's words, but he didn't understand the word earth. A puzzled expression appeared in his eyes. Yang Tian understood the expression in Zhu Wei's eyes. He laughed and said, "Qin Emperor Hanwu, Tang Zong, Song Zhu." As soon as Yang Tian finished speaking, Zhu Wei frowned and cupped his fists towards the sky. My great Ming's Hanwu Emperor did not lose to them. Although he was of humble origin, he founded the Great Ming Empire. He was the first person since ancient times. Perhaps because he had left Earth for a long time, Zhu Wei's words were a little out of tune. However, Yang Tian understood what he meant. Zhu Wei was from Earth. There was no doubt about that. He was also from a Ming dynasty with the surname Zhu. Was he from the royal family? They were from the same hometown. As the saying went, when people from the same hometown saw each other, their eyes would be filled with tears. At this moment, both of them knew each other's identity. They were from the same planet. Excited, really excited, Zhu Wei's eyes were red. "When did you come here?" Yang Tian asked curiously. Although it had been a long time, Zhu Wei remembered it clearly. He said, "The 6th year of the Tianqi era, the 6th of May. Our genie guards found a broken thing carved with strange runes. Now I know it was a transmission array disk. When we were investigating it, it was activated. I was the closest to it and wanted to rub it with my foot out of curiosity. I didn't expect I would be transmitted to a strange planet." Speaking of this, Zhu Wei shook his head and sighed. "I don't know how my family is doing." The 6th year of the Tianqi era. Yang Tian suddenly remembered an event recorded in history books. Because he was extremely curious about strange things, Yang Tian could even recite it. In 1626, which was the 6th year of the Tianqi era, at 9 o'clock in the morning on May 30th, the 6th of May, a strange explosion occurred in the area near the gunpowder depot of Huanggang Factory in the southwest corner of Beijing. The explosion had a radius of about 750 meters and an area of 23 square kilometers, causing about 20,000 casualties. The cause of this event, on Earth, still puzzled historians and scientists. It was known as one of the three natural mysteries of the world, along with the Death Hill incident that occurred in ancient India more than 3,600 years ago and the Tunguska explosion that occurred in Siberia, Russia on June 30th, 1908. According to later estimates, the power of this explosion was about 10,000 to 20,000 tons. When it came to the Huanggang Factory incident, ancient books recorded that the loud sound traveled hundreds of miles. The sky was dark as night. The house was turbulent, and the Ganoderma-shaped smoke and clouds were suspected to be caused by strong earthquakes, tornadoes, meteorites, or even supernatural forces. The gunpowder depot explosion alone was not enough to cause this. In addition, after the incident, the clothes of the injured and the corpses in the vicinity of the explosion were swept away, causing them to be naked. This added a layer of mystery to this disaster. In high school, when Yang Tian and his classmates talked about this incident, they all thought it was done by aliens. He didn't expect the truth to be this. It was estimated that Zhu Wei and his group inadvertently activated the teleportation array disk, but because it was damaged after the teleportation was activated, the energy of the teleportation array disk became unstable and a violent explosion occurred. Zhu Wei was an experienced person of that incident, but he strangely survived. It must be said that it was a kind of luck. Your family, they have already passed away. Yang Tian looked at Zhu Wei and smiled bitterly. Do you know? Although I also came from Earth, we are not from the same era. When I left Earth, the Ming dynasty had already been destroyed for hundreds of years. Yang Tian began to tell Zhu Wei what happened after the 6th year of the Qianqi era. What are they doing? Yeah, why aren't they fighting? We don't understand what they are saying. Oh, they come from the same place. While the onlookers were discussing, someone suddenly shouted, yes, if it didn't come from the same place, how could they speak the same language? Moreover, looking at the skin and hair color of Yang Tian and Zhu Wei, it could also be determined. The Ming dynasty was also destroyed. After Yang Tian finished speaking, Zhu Wei sighed. Are we still fighting? Yang Tian asked with a smile. Zhu Wei smiled slightly. Of course. That is that. I was entrusted by others, and I have to be loyal. Don't worry. Even if I defeat you, I won't kill you. Yang Tian laughed and said same. After this fight, I will treat you to a drink. You know how to brew wine? Zhu Wei was surprised. Yang Tian smiled and said, of course. In ancient China, the art of brewing wine was a secret. Regarding this, Zhu Wei naturally didn't know as much as Yang Tian. That's great. However, I won't go easy on you because of this. Zhu Wei reminded Yang Tian. Yang Tian nodded. Same. Chapter 326. In the Superstar Divine Temple, Qin Fei saw Yang Tian and Zhu Wei standing opposite each other. Listening to their conversation, she couldn't help but open her eyes wide. Qin Fei was also very surprised by Zhu Wei's background. She didn't expect that Zhu Wei was actually from the Ming dynasty. He was simply a living antique. If she brought Zhu Wei back to Earth, those historians would be very happy. What were they talking about just now? The white robe maid Larry asked curiously when she saw Qin Fei's surprised expression. There was nothing to hide. Qin Fei smiled and said, that person is the same as me and Yang Tian. We all came from the same planet. I didn't expect him to be from the Ming dynasty. While Qin Fei was speaking, Zhu Wei pulled out the embroidered spring saber from its scabbard. This was the special weapon of the Ming dynasty's Imperial Guard. Zhu Wei was used to using it. After leaving Earth, he still used this kind of short saber. However, this embroidered spring saber didn't come from Earth. It was custom-made after Zhu Wei came to the universe. Yang Tian also took out the Red Saber 15 from his storage bracelet. I'm using the martial arts passed down in my family. The inheritance of martial arts is getting worse and worse with each generation. I don't know if there are still martial arts in the world after you were born hundreds of years ago. At this time, seeing Yang Tian take out his saber, Zhu Wei smiled and sighed. Although they were about to spar, the two of them looked very relaxed. Yang Tian waved the saber in his hand and said, "After hundreds of years, the ancient martial arts of the Han people have already declined." Zhu Wei smiled. "Then I'll let you experience it." After saying that, Zhu Wei cupped his fists towards Yang Tian. Yang Tian also cupped his fists and returned the greeting. As an Eastern powerhouse from Earth, this kind of etiquette was very natural. After Zhu Wei took a step back, his body suddenly moved and rushed towards Yang Tian. Unlike the opponents Yang Tian had encountered before, although Zhu Wei's speed wasn't the fastest, it was very difficult to catch his figure. What a wonderful footwork! Yang Tian became excited. Sensing the surrounding airflow, he raised his hand and swiped towards Zhu Wei's figure. However, Yang Tian's saber fell and cut empty air. Yang Tian was not surprised. He quickly turned his body and dodged to the side. In the process, he felt a trace of coldness in his chest. When Yang Tian and Zhu Wei brushed past each other, they suddenly stopped. Zhu Wei's speed was not as fast as Yang Tian, but the knife in his hand touched Yang Tian's skin. What a powerful saber technique! After Yang Tian turned around, he gave Zhu Wei a thumbs up. Yang Tian had seen Zhu Wei's movements clearly when the two of them passed by each other. Originally, Zhu Wei's knife was aimed at his lower abdomen, but he suddenly shook his arm, and the tip of the knife rose. Even though it was just a small movement, and Yang Tian managed to dodge it, this kind of instantaneous reaction required an instinctive technique to be able to execute. Yang Tian had just wanted to pull in his abdomen, but he could only back up. In that instant, he had to make two evasive movements. Zhu Wei said, "Actually, there's nothing magical about martial arts. It also emphasizes on speed and strength. However, technique is also very important. You already understand this technique, right?" Yang Tian nodded. On Earth, when Yang Tian fought with others, his opponents had the shadow of martial arts. However, ever since he came to the universe, he found that the battles that others and he experienced almost all relied on pure speed, strength, and the attribute of strength. As for the technique of using one's own strength, Yang Tian had not encountered it yet. Even the powerful goddess fought directly with the Star Mine's owner. It was said that one could defeat 10 with one's strength. When one's strength was strong enough, one could crush the opponent. No matter how skilled the opponent was in martial arts, one could still win. There was a premise to this saying, and that was when facing an opponent who was much weaker than you in terms of strength. If the difference in strength was not big, then martial arts were very important. Again, Zhu Wei smiled and said loudly when he saw that Yang Tian had a look of enlightenment in his eyes. "Okay." Yang Tian nodded in agreement. Yang Tian could not ask for more in this kind of battle. He could learn a lot. Many people now look down on the martial arts created by the ancient humans on Earth. These people had never seen the power of martial arts. What are they doing? Is this a battle? Yes. There is no momentum at all, but their movements are very nice. What's the use of looking nice? They have no attack power at all. The onlookers did not understand the way the two were fighting. However, to people like Immeasurable Star Lord, Professor Shinwu, Primordial Stone Star, and Soli, the two's movements were extremely wonderful. At this time, Yang Tian and Zhu Wei did not use any powerful strength. They only relied on their physical speed and strength to fight. The intensity of this battle could not even be compared to the sparring between beginner students. This kind of sparring was also a kind of tacit understanding between the two. Since the first move, it was basically Zhu Wei attacking while Yang Tian defended. In the eyes of others, Zhu Wei's every move was not only beautiful, but also strange. For example, when he slashed at Yang Tian's shoulder with his saber, and Yang Tian raised his saber to block, the saber in his hand suddenly changed direction halfway and stabbed down diagonally, forcing Yang Tian to dodge and retreat. Such exquisite movements could be ignored. As long as Yang Tian hardened his heart and ignored Zhu Wei's attack, the result would be a lose-lose situation. When fighting with an enemy, this kind of method was obviously not advisable. No one wanted to use injury as the price to defeat the opponent. Many experts would occasionally use Zhu Wei's moves when they are in battle or when they have a sudden inspiration. Even Yang Tian was the same. However, this was occasionally. Even the immeasurable Star Lord couldn't do something like Zhu Wei, who was able to continuously execute exquisite attacks. The experts present were more and more surprised as they watched. They could see that Yang Tian's strength and speed were stronger than Zhu Wei's, but he was always on the defensive and tired of dealing with it. Every time Zhu Wei attacked, it was as if he had thought for a long time. Yang Tian, who was faster than him, had to make several moves to dodge. A short move could make the opponent make several moves to resolve it. In fact, it was slowing down the opponent's speed. This sparring match was more and more exciting as it went on. However, Immeasurable Star-Lord and the others were more and more surprised. Because after such a long time, Zhu Wei's attacking moves were rarely repeated. How long is this going to last? I don't know, but it's really exciting. I learned a lot. What's the use of this? It's just a move. It's useless in actual combat. When the star in the sky rose to the middle of the sky, the onlookers were discussing. When the star was slanting down, they were still talking like this. After such a long time, no one left. More than 10 hours had passed. Suddenly, Yang Tian's saber and Zhu Wei's saber collided, and the two separated again. Do you still want to fight? Zhu Wei panted slightly and asked with a smile. Yang Tian also panted slightly and said with a smile, Not enough. I hope we can fight for 3 days and 3 nights. Ha ha ha. Zhu Wei laughed and said very heroically, As you wish. Both of them understood each other's meaning. Yang Tian hoped to learn something, and Zhu Wei knew that Yang Tian wanted to learn his martial arts. If he wanted to learn, just looking was useless. He had to experience it in actual combat. Only through actual combat could the cells and nervous system remember the mystery of each move. Finally, he could use it as a conditioned reflex. The sky was dark. The sky was bright. The sky was dark again. Clang, clang, clang. On the short mountain, dense collision sound could be heard constantly. Two figures were entangled together, and it was difficult to distinguish between them. Chapter 3:27. As the battle between the two grew longer, many people could see that Yang Tian was no longer just dodging. He would even take the initiative to attack from time to time. Moreover, Yang Tian's dodging was becoming more and more effortless. It was obvious that Yang Tian had learned a lot during the 3 days and nights of sparring. Many people looked at Yang Tian enviously when they saw that. Being able to learn powerful offensive techniques was something that all cultivators yearn for. Primordial Starstone, why aren't you killing Yang Tian? When Yang Tian and Zhu Wei separated again, Tai Chuyao looked at Primordial Stone Star angrily and frowned. Primordial Starstone smiled. You're the one who invited him. It has nothing to do with me. You. Primordial Starstone's words left Primordial Starstone speechless. Primordial Starstone was right. He was the one who invited Zhu Wei. That person had no professional ethics at all. During these 3 days and 3 nights of battle, many people had left. Most of those who left were junior students. Their cultivation level was not high enough, and their reaction speed was not fast enough. It was difficult for them to understand some of Yang Tian and Zhu Wei's subtle movements during the battle. People like Immeasurable Star-Lord, Professor Xinwu, Soli, and Primordial Starstone had never left. Do you still want to fight? Zhu Wei asked Yang Tian again, after the two of them stopped after 3 days and 3 nights had passed. At this time, Zhu Wei and Yang Tian were both very tired. However, judging from Zhu Wei's eyes, he would definitely accompany Yang Tian if he still wanted to fight. However, Yang Tian shook his head. No, I won't be able to hold on any longer. Then, Zhu Wei turned his head and glanced at Primordial Starstone, who was at the foot of the hill. Let's decide the final victor. Yang Tian understood what Zhu Wei meant and nodded. The two of them were about 5 meters apart. At that moment, they both retreated at the same time. When the two of them were about 20 meters away from each other, they stopped. Yang Tian and Zhu Wei looked at each other quietly. The scene quieted down. The onlookers couldn't help but hold their breaths because they knew that the crucial moment had finally arrived. Almost at the same time, Yang Tian and Zhu Wei released powerful auras. Some of the onlookers couldn't help but be surprised. In the previous battle, the two of them basically did not use much of the powerful energy in their bodies. But now, they finally burst out. What would the result be? If that kind of fighting technique was combined with this kind of powerful strength, what kind of power would it produce? Many people were looking forward to it. Yang Tian, let me see your most powerful strength, Zhu Wei said with a smile. Yang Tian nodded. Since Zhu Wei had such a request, Yang Tian naturally wouldn't refuse. If Zhu Wei wasn't a human from Earth, but someone from another planet and wasn't familiar with Yang Tian would have used his most powerful strength long ago. Yang Tian's strength and speed were much stronger than Zhu Wei's. With the addition of the Force, it wouldn't take long for him to defeat Zhu Wei. Zhu Wei didn't know how he cultivated to his current level after leaving Earth. When his power erupted, it made people feel that he was very powerful. Among the cultivators of the same level, he would be ranked at the top. As for Yang Tian, there was no need to talk about it. Yang Tian's mind moved, and the force in his body's cells surged out. Under the control of Yang Tian's mind, it gathered into one in his body. At this time, the energy fluctuations coming from Yang Tian's body not only made people feel his strength, but also made people feel fear deep in their hearts. At this time, Immeasurable Star Lord and several spectating professors in the academy stood up at the same time. They were also very surprised. Vroom vroom vroom. 15 in Yang Tian's hand let out a buzzing sound as it was infused with the force. Whoosh! When their strength was raised to the peak, Yang Tian and Zhu Feng slashed at each other at the same time. Zhu Feng's sword qi was invisible, but it had a continuous force. As for Yang Tian's sword qi, which was the wind blade, it was red and could be seen with the naked eye. It was like a ray of light. Yang Tian's red wind blade gave people a feeling of sharpness and brutality. Boom! The powerful energy from the two collided with each other in an instant, creating a violent explosion. At this time, experts like Immeasurable Star could see that Yang Tian's sword qi had broken through Zhu Wei's sword qi. Just as it was about to hit Zhu Wei, it suddenly separated and turned into two red wind blades, cutting to the side. After a violent collision, there was a series of rumbling sounds. Wherever the two wind blades passed, two deep trenches were left behind. I've lost. After the energy dissipated, Zhu Wei stabbed the embroidered spring saber in his hand into the ground, sat down, and said with a smile. After saying that, he let out a long sigh. He had indeed lost. If Yang Tian's saber energy did not suddenly split in front of him, but instead directly hit his body, he would not have been able to escape. Zhu Wei estimated that his body would definitely be smashed into pieces. He could only reassemble his body, and his realm would also drop by 1 or 2 levels. He didn't know that Yang Tian's force was actually very terrifying. If his body was destroyed by Yang Tian, all the cells in his body would die as well. There would be no chance for him to reassemble his body. Yang Tian was also very tired at this time and sat down. The battle between the two ended just like that. This inevitably disappointed many people. They had hoped that the two of them would fight to the death. Zhu Wei, what's wrong with you? The victor hasn't been decided yet. How can you admit defeat? After the two of them sat down, Tai Chuyao walked over quickly. He looked at Zhu Wei with a frown and said with dissatisfaction. Zhu Wei's face darkened when he heard that. He had seen the situation just now. It wasn't that Zhu Wei didn't try his best, but that Yang Tian let Zhu Wei go. Although Zhu Wei's combat skills were exquisite, he couldn't compare to Yang Tian in terms of strength and the attribute of strength. Tai Chuyao's words were equivalent to sending Zhu Wei to his death. Your Tai Chu family's money. Wait. Zhu Wei was just about to say no, when Primordial Stone Star walked over and interrupted Zhu Wei. Primordial Stone Star glanced at Zhu Wei and Yang Tian, then said to Zhu Wei with a smile, "You've done your best. Our Taichu family will pay you what you deserve. After saying that, Primordial Stone Star looked at Yang Tian and said, I'll wait for that day. Yang Tian smiled and nodded. At this time, Yang Tian suddenly felt that Primordial Stone Star wasn't bad. Unfortunately, he was from the Taichu family. Otherwise, they could have become friends. Primordial Stone Star immediately turned and left after saying that. In the Taichu family, Primordial Stone Star status was actually higher than Taichu Yao's because he was stronger than Taichu Yao. In a family, powerful combat strength also represented the right to speak. Taichu Yao glanced at the two of them coldly and could only turn and leave. Not long after, the Taichu family issued a bounty and increased the reward after Taichu Yao left. Yang Tian and Zhu Wei looked at each other and laughed in unison. Chapter 328. That Zhu Wei is obviously helping Yang Tian. Why do we have to pay him? That's 100,000 star crystals. Taichu Yao said with dissatisfaction as he walked toward Primordial Shirshing after he had left the battlefield. Primordial Shirshing stopped and looked at Taichu Yao. He said, there are so many people watching. Do you want the Taichu family to lose our reputation? This question stumped Taichu Yao. Seeing Taichu Yao's stunned expression, Primordial Shirshing shook his head, turned around, and walked away quickly. Taichu Yao gritted his teeth and said, it's not that easy to take advantage of the Taichu family. Zhu Wei, hearing Taichu Yao's resentful voice, Primordial Shirshing knew what Taichu Yao wanted to do. He said as he walked, I'll say it again. If you want the Taichu family to lose our reputation, then go ahead and kill Zhu Wei. Pung. When Taichu Yao heard this, he threw out a punch. The punch landed on a red boulder the size of a human, and the boulder was shattered into pieces. 3 days later, in a newly built building near the Superstar Academy. How's the wine? Yang Tian asked with a smile as he watched Zhu Wei drink the wine in the cup in one gulp and lick his lips as if he was savoring the aftertaste. Zhu Wei smiled and nodded. It's not bad. Yang Tian laughed. Where do you plan to go next? Yang Tian poured another cup for Zhu Wei and asked. Zhu Wei sighed and said, I really want to go back and take a look. Unfortunately, it's been a few hundred years and I can't find my way back. Even if I go back, I don't have a home anymore. When I was teleported out, I still had my parents, my wife, and a son who wasn't even a year old yet. Zhu Wei fell silent as he said this. At this time, Yang Tian was also homesick. It had been 2 years since he had left Earth. The time outside was different from the time on Earth. Tomorrow, I'll leave Ketla Star and continue to travel the universe. It's been so many years, I'm used to it. Suddenly, Zhu Wei raised his head and smiled at Yang Tian. Yang Tian asked, why do you want to leave? Isn't it good to have a family? Zhu Wei smiled bitterly. I have traveled the universe for hundreds of years and have many enemies. If I were to start a family, it would implicate my wife and children. Even if he didn't have a family, there would be trouble if he stayed in the same place all the time. Moreover, cultivation requires a large amount of stellar crystals. At this time, Yang Tian's heart moved, and he said, if you are willing, there is a place you can go. Where? Zhu Wei asked. Whoosh! At this moment, the little blue dragon who was standing guard outside flew in and landed beside Yang Tian's cup. Then, just like a few days ago in front of Professor Shenwu, the little blue dragon stuck its head into the cup. Soon, the little blue dragon finished the glass of wine. Professor Shenwu wasn't here, so no one dared to say that little blue dragon's drinking was a waste. The little azure dragon, who had drunk to its heart's content, shook its head and flew out to keep watch. Zhu Wei was no longer surprised by dragons. He knew that dragons were called stellar beasts in the universe. When he was first teleported outside of Earth, Zhu Wei saw a dragon and even prostrated himself before it. After the little blue dragon left, Yang Tian took out a card from his pocket and handed it to Zhu Wei. If you feel tired, you can go here and be the sister's bodyguard. They are 2 beauties. After Yang Tian said that, he winked at Zhu Wei. This card was given to Yang Tian by his 7 Light How after the battle. Yang Tian didn't expect that the sisters 7 Light Rain and 7 Color had actually started a business. Now, there were hundreds of officials in the company. He heard that the sisters were inviting famous movie stars in the universe to shoot advertisements for their female products. If you were an ordinary human, as long as you had a job on a prosperous planet like Ketla and had a fixed income, you would be able to live a very happy life. Cultivation was something that only a small number of people could do. Ordinary humans and cultivators were like two different worlds. Zhu Wei didn't immediately agree and only said, "Let me think about it." Next, the two continued to drink. This house was rented by Yang Tian because the academy had rules that outsiders were not allowed to enter the academy. After staying here for 3 days, the people of the Taichu family didn't come to find Yang Tian. When it was dark, Yang Tian was about to return to the academy. Zhu Wei sent Yang Tian to the door and reminded Yang Tian, "There are many people outside who want your life. Be careful." Yang Tian nodded. After coming out of the small building, Yang Tian walked in the direction of the academy vigilantly. At this time, the little blue dragon was not by Yang Tian's side. Just like when they were in the jungle on Earth, the little blue dragon was scouting for Yang Tian. With the little blue dragon's acute senses, anyone who wanted to sneak up on Yang Tian would be immediately discovered by the little blue dragon. After walking for about half a mile, there was a forest in front of him. Suddenly, there was a scream from the forest. Yang Tian narrowed his eyes and moved to the side. Whoosh! A light red beam as thick as an arm shot out from the forest and hit the place where Yang Tian was standing. For the reward of the Taichu family, even cultivators who were at a lower realm than Yang Tian were willing to take the risk. They didn't dare to fight Yang Tian directly, but they could use high-tech weapons to sneak up on him. For example, the beam just now was shot by a powerful particle gun. Once locked on by such a weapon, it was very difficult to dodge. If Yang Tian was hit, even if he didn't die, he would be seriously injured. The disadvantage of such a weapon was that it took a certain amount of time to aim and fire. If a cultivator discovered it, it would basically lose its effect, even if it was controlled by an intelligent program with fast calculation speed. It wouldn't be as fast as a cultivator's intuition. On the ground that was hit by the particle beam, there was a slanted downward hole about 10 centimeters in diameter. It was bottomless. Of course, Yang Tian would not show mercy to those who wanted to kill him. After a few flashes, Yang Tian rushed into the forest. After being discovered by the little blue dragon and being exposed, the dozen or so people hiding in the forest knew that they were no match for it. At this time, they scattered and fled. These people were not wearing armor. They were all wearing tights that could change color according to the surrounding environment. Yang Tian only glanced at them, then moved and rushed toward one of them. In the forest, there were continuous screams. Among these people, the highest realm was only at the planet warrior level. Their strength was far inferior to Yang Tian's. Moreover, the little blue dragon's attack prevented them from escaping. After about a minute, a total of 11 people were all killed. After returning to the advanced student area, Yang Tian took off his clothes and went into the bathroom to wash away the smell of blood on his body. As for the clothes he took off, Yang Tian asked Belle to order the robots to burn them outside. In order to intimidate others, Yang Tian was more ruthless. Every corpse was incomplete. This also announced to those who wanted to kill him that if they wanted to kill Yang Tian, they would have to pay the price. Chapter 329. Yang Tian had just finished showering and came out of the bathroom after changing into a clean set of clothes. Belle flew over and said to Yang Tian, "Master, intermediate student Zhu Yang is looking for you." In the academy, intermediate students could enter the advanced students area with the approval of the advanced students. However, they could not use the facilities there. Ever since he returned to the academy, Yang Tian had not seen Zhu Yang. When he heard that Zhu Yang was looking for him, he smiled and said, "Let him come over." Yang Tian had a good impression of Zhu Yang. He was not a bad person. "Yes, master," Belle replied, and sent out the message of approval. A few minutes later, a small car stopped in front of Villa 099, where Yang Tian lived. Zhu Yang walked down from the car and went straight to the door. The door opened automatically. After entering the villa without any hindrance, Zhu Yang went up to the second floor under Belle's guidance. Yang Tian was sitting in the living room on the second floor. Master Yang Tian. After seeing Yang Tian, Zhu Yang called out with a smile. In the academy, the lower students were called advanced students, and they were also called master. Before Zhu Liangshi finished speaking, Yang Tian smiled and said, "Don't add my lord behind my name. It sounds too distant. You can call me elder brother Yang." Zhu Yang was very happy to hear Yang Tian say that. He did not seem to be so reserved and took the initiative to sit opposite of Yang Tian. At this time, the housework robot controlled by Belle brought over 2 empty cups and placed them on the silver-white table in front of them. Under Zhu Yang's suspicious gaze, Yang Tian took out a large silver-white cylindrical container from his storage bracelet and poured wine into the 2 cups. After putting down the container, Yang Tian pointed at the cup and said, "This is a drink from my hometown. Even the Xinwu Academy's professors love to drink it." With that, Yang Tian raised the cup and made an inviting gesture to Zhu Yang. Zhu Yang smiled and nodded. He raised the cup and took a sip. Puffed. As soon as the wine entered his mouth, Zhu Yangshi could not help but spit it out. To him, the taste of wine was really bad. "I'm sorry. I'm not used to this kind of drink," Zhu Yangshi said apologetically as he wiped his mouth. Yang Tian laughed and let Belle serve another cup of fruit juice. "Why are you looking for me?" Yang Tian looked at Zhu Yang and took a sip of fruit juice before putting down the cup and asking. Yang Tian knew that if there was nothing important, Zhu Yang City would definitely not come. "It's like this," Zhu Yangshi said as he took out a silver-white metal box that was about 10 centimeters long and 5 centimeters wide from his storage bracelet. After placing the box on the table, Zhu Yangshi explained, "A very powerful middle-aged man gave it to me. He said that his daughter asked him to bring it to you." Yang Tian was puzzled. "What does that middle-aged man look like?" Zhu Yangshi shook his head. "I don't remember what he looks like, but I know that he's very powerful." "Brother Yang, do you know? He just looked at me, and I couldn't move at all. Furthermore, the thing that imprisoned me was actually my own strength. It's really too terrifying." After Zhu Yangshi finished speaking, he touched his chest with a look of lingering fear. Yang Tian sized up Zhu Yangshi for a moment. Seeing that Zhu Yangshi did not hide anything from him, he chose to believe him. When Yang Tian extended his hand to pick up the box, Zhu Yangshi stood up and said, "That person told me to get out of here immediately after passing this box to you. I am leaving." After Zhu Yangshi finished speaking, he did not wait for Yang Tian's reply and directly walked downstairs. Yang Tian's extended hand retracted. There were many ways to kill a person. Yang Tian, who had watched many killer movies on Earth, was naturally very vigilant. What if Zhu Yangshi was being used by someone? Yang Tian immediately let Belle control the housework robot to check the box. The result was that there was no problem. What Yang Tian did not know was that no one dared to assassinate a student in the academy. Using remote control to control things inside the body was also not allowed. Once discovered, it was equivalent to challenging the superstar god temple. Even if the Taichu family did such a thing, they would be destroyed by the superstar god temple. After checking the box, there was no problem at all. When the housework robot returned the box and placed it on the table, Yang Tian picked it up. This was not because Yang Tian was a coward, but because he did not want to die too unjustly. After opening the box, there were 3 irregular oval-shaped beads the size of a pigeon's egg. They were wrapped in a layer of transparent material. The 3 round beads were of different colors. There was black, yellow, and silver-white. Yang Tian took them out one by one and looked at them. He did not see what they were and immediately put them back into the box. When Yang Tian closed the box and was about to put it into the storage bracelet, Belle said, "Master, there's a storage crystal card in the box. There might be some information on it." After receiving Belle's reminder, Yang Tian opened the box again. At the bottom of the box, there was indeed a black, fingernail-sized, round, thin crystal card. Because the bottom of the box was also black, Yang Tian did not notice it just now. Yang Tian placed the black crystal card into Belle's slot. Next, something that made Yang Tian happy happened. After Belle read the information on the crystal card, the projector in the living room projected a blue light. In the light, a three-dimensional image quickly appeared, and a beautiful woman appeared. Yang Tian, are you okay? In the image, Qin Fei was wearing a white dress. She smiled and waved at Yang Tian, looking very happy. I am fine. Yang Tian was so excited that he stuttered. This was not a chat video, so Qin Fei naturally did not know how excited Yang Tian was. The image was played according to the recording progress. Yang Tian, everything is fine for me in the shrine. It's just that I am not free and can't leave the shrine as I wish. I have to be sneaky when contacting the outside world. I really miss you. When Qin Fei said this, her eyes turned red. Seeing this, Yang Tian could not help but clench his fists. Without personal freedom, isn't that the same as being in prison? It's just that the cage looks spectacular and beautiful. In the image, Qin Fei wiped her eyes and smiled. You don't have to worry about me. Here, no one can hurt me. Let me tell you something. I am now a Star Warrior level cultivator. If anyone dares to provoke me... Qin Fei clenched her fist and waved it. She looked very cute. She continued, the reason why my realm can rise so quickly is because of my father. He is called Immeasurable Star Lord. Next, Qin Fei described the process of being brought to the Blue Star Empire and then to the Superstar Divinity Temple in detail. Only then did Yang Tian know that the middle-aged man he saw in Zhuyang City was actually his father-in-law. This father-in-law's name was Immeasurable Star Lord. After Qin Fei finished speaking, she turned to Yang Tian and said, I brought you 3 beast cores. The silver-white one is a Hengxing Warlord beast core, the yellow one is a Stellar King beast core, and the black one is a Stellar Lord beast core. They will be helpful to your cultivation. Squeak, squeak. At this moment, the little blue dragon flew in and landed on Yang Tian's shoulder. It obviously heard Qin Fei's voice. Chapter 330. Yang Tian watched the video 3 times in a row before carefully putting away the black crystal that was very precious to him. This video made Yang Tian feel that the distance between him and Qin Fei had suddenly narrowed by a lot. At the same time, he also learned a lot of information. He didn't expect Qin Fei to have a father called the Immeasurable Star Lord. Just a glance was enough to make a planet-level cultivator unable to move. What kind of realm was that? Qin Fei also told Yang Tian that before Yang Tian walked out of the Death Star field, the Immeasurable Star Lord had already been observing him. He was only observing. During this process, the Immeasurable Star Lord had never helped Yang Tian. Yang Tian didn't really care whether he helped or not. If the Immeasurable Star Lord gave him benefits, he wouldn't refuse. If the Immeasurable Star Lord didn't help him, he wouldn't have any complaints either. He just had to treat everything with a normal heart. At the end of the video, Qin Fei also mentioned his grandfather and adoptive parents. This made Yang Tian miss his parents even more. He had to make a trip back as soon as possible. Yang Tian swore in his heart. Although his parents weren't very old, they were only enhancers. Their lifespans were really too short for cultivators in the universe. After turning off the video, Yang Tian's mind was in a mess for a while. Many things appeared in his mind. After about an hour, Yang Tian finally calmed down. He picked up the 3 beast cores and carefully examined them. This beast core was completely different from the beast cores produced in the bodies of exotic beasts on Earth. In fact, it was the inner core of a high-level exotic beast. After being processed, it was made into a kind of energy body. In the video, Qin Fei had already told Yang Tian that this beast core could be directly swallowed or absorbed with one's own strength. Its energy unit was much higher than stellar crystals. Looking at the silver-white beast core in Yang Tian's hand, the little blue dragon's eyes widened, looking greedy. As Yang Tian spoke, he crushed the special protective shell outside the beast core. As soon as this transparent protective shell cracked, Yang Tian immediately felt a powerful energy. This energy was slowly spreading out in all directions. If it wasn't for the protective shell on the outside, The energy of this beast core would slowly dissipate and become a pile of waste. After pinching open the transparent shell, Yang Tian directly placed the fierce white beast core into the little blue dragon's mouth. The little blue dragon held the pigeon egg-sized, silver-white beast core in its mouth and flew a few rounds around the room happily. After its body grew bigger, it swallowed the beast core into its stomach. A dragon's body was different from a human's. Yang Tian was envious of the little blue dragon's appetite. There were 2 beast cores left, but they were Stellar King and Stellar Lord beast cores. Yang Tian couldn't consume beast cores of that level yet. Although Yang Tian hoped to quickly improve his realm, cultivation was not as simple as eating and drinking. It also required a process of adaptation. Just like on Earth, every time a warrior advanced a level, they would need to train their body to the limit of the corresponding level. Only by consuming beast cores of a higher level would the effect be better. As for Yang Tian, he had just entered the stellar realm and needed some time to consolidate. Yang Tian was about to put away the remaining 2 beast cores when suddenly his eyes widened. This was because the little blue dragon, who was happily flying in the air, suddenly ignited and released green flames all over its body. At the same time, a powerful aura burst out from the little blue dragon's body. Roar! The mini little blue dragon suddenly opened its mouth and let out a roar that only a dragon would let out when it transformed. From this roar, Yang Tian could hear pain and excitement. The little blue dragon was going to level up. Thinking of this possibility, Yang Tian was happy for the little blue dragon, but at the same time, he was very worried. Whoosh! At this time, the little blue dragon turned into a green shadow and rushed out of the house. Yang Tian took the box and immediately followed. This was the advanced student area of the academy. The little blue dragon could not transform here, so it directly flew to the back of the academy, which was the direction where Yang Tian and Zhu Wei fought a few days ago. Yang Tian ran quickly and left the academy in a few minutes. Many advanced students saw Yang Tian and the little blue dragon leaving quickly one after the other. At the same time, they felt the powerful aura from the little blue dragon and knew that something was going to happen. In the academy, this kind of thing would arouse the interest of many people. So they all followed. Among these advanced students, there was Tai Chu Yao. Others were there to watch the show, but Tai Chu Yao had another purpose. Ever since the battle between Yang Tian and Zhu Wei, Tai Chu Yao had been paying attention to Yang Tian's movements in the Superstar Academy. Wasn't Yang Tian leaving the academy a good opportunity? The Tai Chu Yao family did not give any orders to Tai Chu Yao. It was his own choice to become enemies with Yang Tian. The reason why Tai Chu Yao was so enthusiastic was because he had his own ideas. He was not strong enough, and his ability to do things was not good, but he wanted to be valued by the family. If he took the initiative to help the family complete the mission and avenge Tai Chu Yao, who was the patriarch of the Tai Chu Yao family. In the process of running, Tai Chu Yao sneered and informed his subordinates outside. As the little blue dragon flew, its body grew bigger and bigger. When it was dozens of miles away from the academy, it had become a dragon that was dozens of meters long. Rumble, at this time, something strange happened. All of a sudden, dark clouds gathered in this part of the sky. Lightning flashed in the clouds and thunder rumbled. At the same time, there was fog in the surroundings. Chaotic energy fluctuations were constantly being transmitted in this area. Yang Tian raised his head and looked at the little blue dragon in the sky. He was getting more and more worried. Was this a tribulation? TSS. What happened next was different from what Yang Tian had imagined. Suddenly, the little blue dragon stopped. In the dark clouds in the sky, countless white lightning bolts shot down and enveloped the little blue dragon, making crackling sounds. Roar! The little blue dragon let out a low roar as it swam in the lightning. Its voice expressed a very comfortable emotion. At this time, Yang Tian was finally relieved. The lightning that fell from the sky became denser and denser, connecting the little blue dragon's body with the dark clouds in the sky. It looked like a cage. Many students who had come to watch the show could not help but stop and look at this strange scene with curiosity. Time passed by second. Yang Tian took out the red longsword from his storage bracelet and sat on a piece of gravel. He turned his head and looked around vigilantly. The little blue dragon had its eyes closed. The aura emitted from its body was very unstable. It was sometimes strong and sometimes weak. It cannot be disturbed by others. More than 10 minutes later, suddenly a thick beam of superparticles was emitted from the bottom of the hill in the distance and shot toward the little blue dragon in the sky. This beam of superparticles looked like it was as thick as a person's thigh. After hitting the little blue dragon's body, a big hole as thick as a bowl immediately appeared where the little blue dragon was hit. Roar! The injured little blue dragon suddenly opened its eyes and let out a painful howl. Yang Tian's eyes widened. His eyes turned red and emitted an extremely angry light. His body moved and rushed toward the place where the beam of superparticles was emitted. Chapter 331. Yang Tian, who was extremely angry, increased his speed to the limit. In the process of running, the force in his body burst out. Yang Tian arrived at a distance of thousands of meters in the blink of an eye. Leaping over the hillside, Yang Tian saw a short-haired young man in yellow armor. When Yang Tian appeared in front of this person, he was carrying a weapon that looked like a rocket launcher. This type of weapon was a small particle cannon that could be carried by a single person. At this time, the yellow-armored young man was still aiming the cannon at the little blue dragon in the sky with a sneer on his face. He was about to fire a second shot when Yang Tian arrived. Poof! Yang Tian did not care who this person was. After appearing, he slashed out with his sword. The red wind blade that carried Yang Tian's anger was released from the red long sword in Yang Tian's hand and cut the yellow-armored young man in half along with his weapon. Boom! The particle cannon was destroyed, and suddenly there was a violent explosion. In an instant, Yang Tian's mind moved, and his spiritual power formed a protective shield outside his body. The shock wave produced by the explosion only blew Yang Tian's feet. The little azure dragon was rolling in the sky in pain. Perhaps this was a critical moment for it. Normally, if anyone dared to attack it, it would have swooped down and slapped the attacker to death with its claws. Roar! The little blue dragon roared again, and the sound was a little hoarse. On its body, a large amount of blood was flowing out of the wounds caused by the superparticle cannon. As the little azure dragon rolled, blood splattered and fell like dense raindrops. One of them fell on Yang Tian's forehead. There was someone else. There must be more. Yang Tian smelled the blood of the little blue dragon, and his eyes became even redder. He looked around for suspicious people. Suddenly, the grass in front of him moved. Whoosh! Yang Tian's figure moved, dashing over a high speed. Yang Tian, who was furious to the extreme, raised his speed to the maximum. The friction between his body and the space produced whistling sounds. What appeared in front of Yang Tian was a middle-aged man. This person was holding a silver-white metal bow. There was an arrow knocked on the bow, but the arrowhead was not sharp. Instead, it was oval-shaped. At a glance, one could tell that it was an arrowhead that would explode violently when it hit a hard object. Buffed! Yang Tian raised his saber and slashed down, cutting the opponent in half. At this time, a superparticle beam shot toward Yang Tian. It was fired from not far away from Yang Tian. Yang Tian did not dodge. More than half of the energy of the superparticle beam was blocked by Yang Tian's spiritual power. The remaining energy hit his arm, and the clothes on his arm immediately burned a big hole. A piece of skin on his arm was also instantly scorched. The person who fired the superparticle beam at Yang Tian was a middle-aged man in blue armor. After attacking Yang Tian, he was ready to turn around and run. But before he could turn around, Yang Tian suddenly appeared in front of him and was killed by Yang Tian. Under the effect of the force, the injury on Yang Tian's arm healed at an extremely fast speed. The black skin on the injured area had already cracked and would fall off soon. In the sky, the little blue dragon gradually calmed down. The wound on its body was close to its tail. Although there was a bowl-sized hole, it was not a serious injury for its huge body. Seeing that the little blue dragon was fine, Yang Tian was relieved. Next, Yang Tian did not stop moving. Once he noticed movement, he would immediately flash over. In a few minutes, more than 10 people were killed by Yang Tian. These people had just arrived when the little blue dragon and Yang Tian had just arrived. They had taken advantage of the thunder to hide here. These useless people. Tai Chuyao saw that the people he had hurriedly sent were killed by Yang Tian in a very short time. He frowned and muttered to himself. Tai Chuyao was very far away from the other advanced students. No one could hear him muttering to himself. At this time, he gritted his teeth and said to a silver-white intelligent assistance device floating beside him, "Let those experts move out. Tai Chuyao can afford it." This place was a continuous chain of short mountains. It was dozens of miles away from the Superstar Academy. There was no one there. No one was willing to live near the Superstar Academy. This was because the students of the Superstar Academy would often spar and fight near the academy. If a house was built nearby, it was very likely that it would be destroyed. If a house was destroyed, it could be rebuilt. But if they were accidentally injured or killed, they would have nowhere to cry. A place like this was the perfect place to kill Yang Tian and his pet beast. Looking at Yang Tian's flashing figure and the little blue dragon in the sky, Tai Chuyao smiled coldly. A few minutes later, boom! Suddenly, the little blue dragon dove down. Its huge dragon head crashed into a small hill. The small hill that was dozens of meters tall and dozens of meters wide was smashed into pieces. The strong impact caused the ground to tremble. After smashing the small hill, the little blue dragon raised its head and let out a roar. It then charged straight into the sky. Rumble. In the sky, the dark clouds became thicker and the thunder became louder. Had the little blue dragon gone crazy? Others might think so when they saw this situation, but Yang Tian knew that it was not the case. Listening to the little blue dragon's roar just now, Yang Tian's eyes were confused. It was like a distant memory that appeared in Yang Tian's mind. Some fragments of the dream that he had once had suddenly became clear. Soon, Yang Tian understood. Boom! The little blue dragon that flew into the sky suddenly rushed down again. Boom! Another hill was destroyed by the little blue dragon's head. At this time, when the little blue dragon rushed into the sky, it could be seen that its pair of dragon horns were already crooked. Roar! The little blue dragon that rushed into the sky let out another roar. Its body turned in the air and swooped down again. After a few times, the little blue dragon's pair of dragon horns finally loosened and fell. A large amount of blood gushed out from the two holes on its head. Seeing this situation, Yang Tian was not worried because he knew that after the little blue dragon's dragon horns fell, they would grow back again. After the dragon horns fell, the little blue dragon flew straight into the sky and quickly disappeared into the thick clouds. This time, Yang Tian was finally relieved. Although the little blue dragon was injured in the process of leveling up, it was not affected much. Phew! Yang Tian lowered his head and let out a long breath. The anger in his eyes dissipated a little, but soon he frowned, because dozens of auras that were full of attack power suddenly appeared and surrounded him. Although they were hundreds of meters away, Yang Tian could still sense it. The cultivators that surrounded Yang Tian were the cultivators that Tai Chuyao had spent a lot of money to invite, as well as some cultivators for the bounty of the Tai Chu family. Yang Tian licked his lips and smiled. These people were perfect for him to practice his sword techniques. Chapter 332. 40 planet-grade zone lords, 10 star-grade warriors, 5 star-grade generals, and 1 star-grade star king. Let's see how you deal with this, Yang Tian. Tai Chuyao sneered as he watched Yang Tian being surrounded by dozens of people in the distance. However, after saying this, the corners of his eyes couldn't help but twitch. He had spent a lot of money to invite these cultivators over. He had spent close to 5 million star crystals just like that. Plus, he had paid half of it up front. The other half would be paid after the mission was completed. The remaining half was deposited in a mid-tier organization. Even if these cultivators failed to kill Yang Tian, the remaining half of the star crystals would be the compensation for the cultivators who died. This sort of mid-tier organization was equivalent to the mid-tier assassins on Earth. They were very black-hearted. The Taichu family's bounty had only been raised to 2 million star crystals. However, the Taichu family had a good reputation, so there was no need for a guarantee. As long as Yang Tian was alive, this money would not be spent. This meant that whoever killed Yang Tian would get 7 million star crystals in the end. How many star crystals were there in the standard 7 million star crystals? It would probably take up more space than a few villas in the advanced student area combined. 5 million star crystals was the amount of money Tai Chuyao had received from his family over the years. In addition to the star crystals he had obtained after entering the academy, he had spent more than 10 years accumulating them. If Yang Tian did not die this time, he would have to live a poor life for a long time. If he succeeded, the benefits he would receive from his family would be dozens of times more than this amount of star crystals. Rumble. The clouds in the sky were getting thicker and thicker. Thunder rumbled and lightning flashed. The light in this area was obscured by the dark clouds, and the light became dim. The flashing electric light illuminated the surrounding situation in a flickering light. Professor Xinwu, Yang Tian is in danger now. There are few people with a higher cultivation base than Yang Tian. Soli, who was standing next to Professor Xinwu, said faintly. Soli's words did not seem to contain any emotions, but the meaning behind his words was his concern for Yang Tian. Professor Xinwu was drinking Yang Tian's wine with a look of enjoyment on his face. He smiled and said, Yang Tian is an anomaly that only appears once every few hundred years in the Superstar Academy. You see how big of a commotion he caused when he came to the academy? Even I was mobilized by him. If this was in the academy, there would be no need for Yang Tian to make a move. This old man would have annihilated them. However, this place is outside the academy, so I can't interfere. Otherwise, he would be breaking the rules of the academy. Don't worry, he will be fine. A cultivator had to constantly grow and face danger. Only then could one's potential be stimulated. It was like a piece of music. If it had a smooth tone, what was the point of listening to it? This kind of high-profile thing that happens every 2 or 3 days is really exciting. Soli understood what the professor meant. The academy wouldn't interfere in this matter. For Yang Tian to encounter such a thing, it was both a blessing and a curse. If Soli reached the Star Realm, she would have already gone to help. She wouldn't have to stand here and watch. However, she still needed some time to break through to the planet realm. While Soli and the professor were talking, the other students who came here were also discussing the same thing. He's too restless. A few days ago, there was a battle, and now there's another one. Can we still live the life of a student in peace? Yang Tian's battle will definitely be exciting. It won't be like last time. Although the opponents were powerful, they came from the same place. Exciting, that's for sure. It's either life or death. Outside the academy won't care. I say, our academy is too disunited. Our classmates are being besieged. Why don't we help? As soon as this sentence came out, the surrounding students suddenly quieted down. The Superstar Academy emphasized individual combat power, not group combat power, because it was related to individual lives. Over time, the students in the academy, especially the senior students, were not very close to each other, because maybe one day they would become enemies after leaving the academy. The spectating students quickly quieted down, because for them, a wonderful battle was about to begin. But, boom, suddenly, a thunderclap sounded in the sky, and a powerful aura came down from the thick clouds. The roar of the little blue dragon also came from the clouds. Then, a huge dragon head poked out from the clouds. Everyone couldn't help but look up at the sky at this time. At this time, the little blue dragon, whether it was its expression or appearance, had some changes from before. First of all, its pair of dragon horns had turned golden. Previously, the dragon horns were similar in color to its body. Its body color didn't change much, but the surface looked more lustrous which made the little blue dragon look like a mechanical dragon. There was also the little blue dragon's eyes, which seemed to be much more mature than before. Xiaolong, you've finally grown up. Yang Tian sighed in his heart after seeing the little blue dragon's eyes. Yang Tian actually felt a little lost in his heart, but at the same time, he was happy for the little blue dragon. Thinking back, when the little blue dragon had just come out of its shell, it looked cute, too cute. Yang Tian still clearly remembered the situation at that time. What happened next made Yang Tian completely become a supporting role. Because as soon as the little blue dragon poked its head out, it glanced coldly below and swooped down quickly. When the little blue dragon swooped down, Yang Tian knew what it was going to do. The anger of being injured just now had nowhere to vent. The aura emitted from its body was much stronger than before. This was just like Yang Tian stepping from the planet realm to the star realm. The little blue dragon's realm had also greatly improved. In fact, before the little blue dragon swallowed the silver-white beast core, it was already about to level up. That beast core had pushed the time forward a little. After crossing a realm, the little blue dragon's combat power could be said to be at least several times stronger than before. Boom! When it was about to reach the ground, the little blue dragon suddenly opened its mouth and spat out a blue dragon flame. The temperature of this dragon flame was much higher than the blazing white dragon flame from before, and the speed of its impact was much faster. This dragon flame enveloped more than a dozen people. Those who were within the attack range of the dragon flame immediately dodged in all directions. At the same time, Yang Tian also moved. After a few flashes, he appeared in front of Star Warrior Elite. Professor Shimu laughed at this time, pointed at the little blue dragon in the distance, and said to Soli next to him, "See, I told you we don't need to worry." Soli nodded. Chapter 333. Although they dodged quickly, 3 of them were still burned by the little blue dragon's dragon flames. Swoosh! The 3 men who were enveloped by the dragon flame were turned into black ashes before they could even let out a scream. The rocky ground at the center of the dragon flames was instantly burned into crystals, and a large pit appeared. Pung! At the same time, Yang Tian appeared in front of a stellar warrior-level assassin and punched. Yang Tian's speed was too fast. Although the man reacted and began to dodge, he was still hit in the chest, and his body flew backward. Yang Tian did not even look at the person he hit and rushed to the next person. At that moment, Yang Tian's force had already poured into the other person's body. Yang Tian did not need to think to know the result. Until now, Yang Tian had not found an opponent of the same level or a lower level who could resist his force. Sure enough, the assassin who was sent flying by him fell to the ground and lay motionless. The surface of his body was already a blur. Pung, 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 pung. Yang Tian moved quickly and punched, killing 13 people in one breath. Among them was a stellar warrior-level powerhouse. The little blue dragon swam rapidly in the air and spat out dragon flames on the ground. Before the most powerful assassins were dispatched, the assassins targeted by the little blue dragon were doomed. After the advancement, the little blue dragon had become even more powerful. Although its speed had increased a lot, the airflow it created during flight was much weaker. Although its body was huge for a human, it gave people a feeling of flexibility. When it swam, it was full of a sense of beauty. Originally, these assassins came for Yang Tian and had already surrounded Yang Tian. Unexpectedly, the little blue dragon suddenly appeared and disrupted their plan. Tai Chuyao had spent a lot of money to hire dozens of people. A Stellar Star King Elite was the leader of this group. His name could be shortened to 10 Star Guards when translated into Earth's language. The 10 Star Guards had rushed over from faraway planet just a day ago. In this Starfield's underground world, the 10 Star Guards didn't have a good reputation. As long as he had enough star crystals, he would kill anyone. Even ordinary people without any martial strength would be killed. Assassin organizations formed by many cultivators wouldn't accept such a commission. This was because these organizations still had a sense of honor and dignity as a powerhouse. Seeing the little blue dragon and Yang Tian continuously killing his subordinates, the 10-star guard, who was standing not far away, wore a black armor and had light red hair. His square face didn't have any strange expression at all. He looked like an indifferent bystander. Until now, he hadn't made a move yet because he was calculating the battle strength of Yang Tian and the little blue dragon. The 5 core members he had brought along, who were all stellar warlords, were standing quietly behind him. These 5 people were also wearing black armor and masks, so their faces couldn't be seen. When Yang Tian and the little blue dragon had killed dozens of ordinary subordinates, the 10-star guard said, "The 5 of you will deal with Yang Tian. I will slay that star beast." "Yes, sir." The 5-star level warlords immediately bowed and replied, "Chi, Chi, Chi." These people were less than 20 meters away from Yang Tian. Yang Tian raised his hand and brandished the red long blade in his hand. Yang Tian hadn't used his blade yet. Even when facing stellar warlords, he had used his fists to deal with them. The arrival of the 5 people had aroused Yang Tian's fighting spirit. The martial arts he had learned from sparring with Zhu Wei a few days ago could be used to test them now. During the sparring with Zhu Wei, many people had hoped to see the power produced by the combination of powerful energy and martial arts. However, Zhu Wei had disappointed the onlookers. Suddenly, an assassin holding a long blade and a short blade in each hand rushed towards him. At the same time, the other 4 people also moved. Stellar warlord assassins were 1 level higher than Yang Tian. Their speed was also very fast. It seemed that they were on par with Yang Tian's speed. At least in terms of speed, Yang Tian didn't have an advantage. In terms of strength, these 5 people might be weaker than Yang Tian, but there were 5 of them. One would be at a disadvantage in a battle against many people. Facing a person rushing towards him, Yang Tian relaxed. In an instant, the opponent's movements were clearly seen. Yang Tian and Zhu Wei had fought for 3 days and 3 nights. During this process, Yang Tian's body cells had formed a special memory. Facing this opponent who was rushing towards him, Yang Tian's body moved faster than his mind. Hiss! Yang Tian brushed past the black-armored man who was rushing towards him. During this process, a red light flashed. In the distance, seeing Yang Tian facing the expert who was rushing towards him, he thought that Yang Tian was going to fight the opponent head-on. He didn't expect that he would miss. Yang Tian didn't stop and dodge sideways. Because another person was rushing towards him, Yang Tian had to dodge at this time, as if he had already predicted his route. In the process of fighting with Yang Tian, the 10-star guard moved quickly and suddenly flew towards the sky. In fact, when one reached the star realm, one could rely on their own strength to fly. It was just that this was a very energy-consuming way of moving. The 10-star guard rushed towards the little blue dragon in the sky, mostly relying on the catapult power of his legs. The little blue dragon in the sky had long noticed the 10-star guard because the energy waves emitted from his body were the strongest. Seeing the 10-star guard rushing towards him, the little blue dragon's eyes showed a strong desire to fight. Just like humans, after advancing, they would always feel that they were strong. This was actually an illusion. However, at this time, the little blue dragon was really strong. Whoosh! Boom! Suddenly, a bolt of lightning appeared in front of the little blue dragon's new dragon horn and blasted towards the 10-star guard who was rushing towards him. Now, although the lightning released by the little blue dragon was still the same color as before, the range of the attack was much larger. Outside the thick bolt of lightning that was blasted out, there were countless tiny electric threads, just like a large net. Facing the net of electricity, the 10-star guard couldn't dodge. The powerful energy in his body rushed out of his body and formed a thick energy defense outside his body. The moment the little blue dragon released this bolt of lightning, the 10-star guard was struck. However, it seemed that this attack of the little blue dragon had no effect on the 10-star guard. The 10-star guard's body was still rapidly approaching the little blue dragon. Whoosh! Suddenly, a huge crossbow appeared in the hands of the 10-star guard who was shrouded in electricity. A sharp black arrow was released from the crossbow, like a black ray of light and rushed towards the little blue dragon's head. From the moment the 10-star guard moved until now, it seemed like a long time, but only 2 or 3 seconds had passed. Chapter 334. Facing the oncoming black arrow, the little blue dragon shook its head. A pu sound was heard. This sound was not the sound of the black arrow piercing into the little blue dragon's body. Instead, when the black arrow was about to come into contact with the little blue dragon, it was blocked by a layer of invisible force. The black arrow was bounced away. The little blue dragon, who had advanced, had new ability. That was like a powerful human cultivator. It could transfer the power in its body out of its body to form an invisible protective layer. In the past, the little blue dragon had always relied on its powerful physical body to block the enemy's attacks. But now, its defensive ability had increased by more than one level. After shooting the black arrow, the 10-star guard immediately threw away the crossbow in his hand. While feeling surprised, he instantly took out a 3-meter-long, 10-centimeter-wide broadsword from his storage bracelet. The broadsword was as thick as a palm, and he slashed it toward the little blue dragon. In that instant, one could see the dense runes on the broadsword in the 10-star guard's hand light up. In order to kill a mutated beast, one had to cut off its head. With this slash, the 10-star guard aimed at the little blue dragon's huge head. A fierce sword chi was emitted from the broadsword in the 10-star guard's hand. They were too close. The huge little blue dragon and the 10-star guard were like a mouse in front of a human. This slash seemed to be very difficult for the little blue dragon to dodge. However, when this slash landed, the 10-star guard was shocked to find that the huge little blue dragon in front of him had actually disappeared. This was too unbelievable. Boom! While the 10-star guard was still in shock, suddenly, a blue flame fell from the sky and instantly enveloped the 10-star guard. The 10-star guard was a stellar-level Star King, and he was also extremely powerful. This blue flame could instantly burn a stellar-level cultivator into black ashes, but it could not do anything to him. With a hoo sound, the 10-star guard rushed out of the blue flame. He was completely fine as he quickly descended. At this time, Yang Tian had already killed 2 stellar-level warlord assassins. It had only been a few seconds. This made the senior students who were paying attention to him very surprised. They finally saw how powerful a person with great strength combined with martial arts was. The 2 assassins Yang Tian had killed in succession weren't actually killed by his blade, but by his strange origin power. When he came into contact with his opponent, his origin power could easily break through his opponent's energy defenses. Once his origin power entered his opponent's body, it would cause great trouble. Once the origin power entered the body, it was like being poisoned. Moreover, this poison was very powerful. Not only did it spread quickly, but it could also cause the cells in the body to die immediately. Star rank experts weren't completely defenseless against origin power. Given enough time, they would be able to expel the origin power from their bodies. However, they were in the middle of a battle, so how could they have the time to be absent-minded? After Yang Tian killed the 2 stellar-level warlord assassins at an extremely fast speed, the remaining 3 people no longer had any desire to fight. They turned around and fled. Yang Tian's strange strength was one reason. Another reason was that Yang Tian's attacking and dodging movements were really too strange. If they were faster than Yang Tian would be able to disintegrate their offensive moves with a single defensive move. If Yang Tian was the one attacking, it would be even more terrifying. They would need to continuously make various movements in order to dodge. Otherwise, both sides would suffer great losses. When the assassins faced Yang Tian, they felt the same as when Yang Tian fought with Zhu Wei a few days ago. The reason Yang Tian could improve to this extent after 3 days and 3 nights of fighting was because Zhu Wei had deliberately made Yang Tian's body remember his martial arts during that time. In fact, this was a kind of imparting. Yang Tian and Zhu Wei were already new life forms. That was why they were able to complete the cultivation process that humans on Earth would take more than 10 years to complete in 3 days and 3 nights. Upon seeing the three stellar-level warlord assassins escape, Yang Tian felt extremely grateful to Zhu Wei in his heart. Yang Tian has just entered the stellar level, hasn't he? How can he be so strong? Yes, this kind of combat power is more than just one level higher. At the end of the year, the God Temple will select the Divine Generals. I don't have a chance. It's not just Yang Tian who doesn't have a chance. Even if his combat power exceeds the stellar-level warlord level, there are several stellar-level lords among the advanced students. I reckon he won't make it. As the spectating students discussed this, the 10-star guards landed on the ground. The little blue dragon in the sky also rushed down quickly. What followed next should be an exciting battle. However, after the 10-star guards landed on the ground, they did not hesitate. They put away the sword in their hands into their storage bracelet and quickly fled into the distance. The 10-star guards were confident that they would not be defeated in the battle with the little blue dragon. This was because they still had many tricks up their sleeves. However, Yang Tian was not far away. Facing the little blue dragon and Yang Tian, the 10-star guards had no confidence in winning. Since they could not win, should they stay and wait for death? Seeing the 10-star guards escape, the little blue dragon did not chase after them. This was because at this time, the little blue dragon was also a little tired. Although the battle with the 10-star guards only lasted for a few seconds, it had consumed a lot of energy, especially at the last moment when the 10-star guards used their powerful sword. After all, the 10-star guards were stellar-level lords. They were not easy to defeat. Yang Tian let out a long breath and sat on the ground. Then, he lay down and stretched his body. The battle just now made him feel extremely comfortable. At this time, Yang Tian finally felt that he was strong. Professor Shenwu, what happened just now? How did Yang Tian's star beast dodge that person's sword? At this time, Soli asked Professor Shenwu curiously. Professor Shenwu's realm was unfathomable. Even the top students did not know his true realm. Professor Shenwu had clearly seen the situation just now. That big guy actually used an illusion, Professor Shenwu said with a smile. Illusion? That's right. Professor Shenwu said when the big guy blocked the black arrow, it was already dodging to the side. Then, Professor Shenwu saw that Soli still did not understand and said, did you see that the water vapor in that area is thicker? And the water droplets in the air can refract light? This time, Soli finally understood. She nodded and said that star beast is really smart. It can actually use the refraction principle of light. However, it's really not easy to make that kind of effect. Professor Shenwu said that kind of ability is very difficult for humans to learn. But for exotic beasts like them, this kind of ability is engraved in their bones. As they continue to become stronger, their inherited memories will slowly awaken. They can learn many abilities without learning them. Chapter 335. It's like this again, yeah? I thought that there would be an exciting battle between a human and a beast at the end. Who is that guy? He's too useless. He's smart. If he stayed, he would be finished. Let's go back. We have to work hard too. The battle was over, and there was nothing to watch. The students discussed and soon dispersed. Squeak, squeak, the little blue dragon turned into a mini dragon again and landed in front of Yang Tian. It cried out excitedly. The little blue dragon still hadn't changed. Seeing that the little blue dragon's eyes were still as cute as before, Yang Tian smiled. He stood up and put the sword into his storage bracelet. The little blue dragon still jumped onto Yang Tian's shoulder. At this time, the thick clouds in the sky began to disperse at an extremely fast speed following the end of the battle. There was nothing mysterious about the formation of the clouds above. It was also a kind of energy reaction. Yang Tian looked around and saw the dragon horns that the little blue dragon knocked off when it was advancing. He immediately walked over. These two dragon horns were dropped when the little blue dragon became a giant dragon. They looked like two big trees that had fallen to the ground. Yang Tian didn't care if it was useful or not and put it into his storage bracelet. It would be good to keep it as a souvenir. The man and the dragon soon returned to the academy. Slap, This kid, he gave the beast core that I gave to Xiaofei to that astral beast. What a waste. When Yang Tian's figure disappeared, the immeasurable Star Master stepped on a rock on a small mountain in the distance and said with some dissatisfaction, Master Star Master, it was the goddess who gave it to Yang Tian. The young guard next to the immeasurable Star Master said as he packed up the outdated camera equipment. Sigh, the immeasurable Star Master sighed and touched his head. It's not easy to have a daughter. You have to prepare 2 sets of good things. Send another set to Xiaofei in a few days. She should need it now. Yes, Sir Star-Lord. The young guard smiled. Immeasurable Star-Lord continued. Tomorrow, I'll be leaving Ketla Planet. There's another troublesome matter. You stay here and watch. The young guard nodded and asked curiously, Sir Star-Lord, what is it? I can't believe you're going to do it yourself. A woman, a very troublesome woman. Immeasurable Star-Lord frowned and murmured. The next morning, Yang Tian got up early. After finishing his preparations, Yang Tian arrived in front of Building 186 in the intermediate student area. As soon as he arrived, the door opened. Sori, who was wearing white casual clothes, walked out. Glancing at Yang Tian, Soli smiled and said, Let's go. Yang Tian nodded. After the battle yesterday, Yang Tian returned to Villa 099. When he opened the school system, he received a message from Soli. Soli asked Yang Tian to exchange for star crystals. Yang Tian thought about it and agreed. Thus, Yang Tian arrived in front of Soli's door early in the morning. The little blue dragon habitually climbed on Yang Tian's shoulder and was sleeping. After completing the promotion, the little blue dragon needed a process of adaptation. It told Yang Tian that its adaptation process was to sleep. The little blue dragon could also dream, and it could learn a lot in its dreams. This made Yang Tian speechless. Humans and dragons could never be compared. Not only were their bodies not as strong as dragons, but they also needed to work hard to cultivate. Dragons, on the other hand, only needed to sleep. No wonder there were many strange mythical beasts in China's ancient myths and legends that spent most of their time sleeping. It turned out that they were all cultivating combat skills in their dreams. After leaving the intermediate student area, the two got into the car prepared by the school. When the car left the school and drove at high speed, Soli said to Yang Tian directly, I want to learn the combat skill you just learned from you. Soli was referring to the martial arts Yang Tian learned from Zhu Wei. This? Yang Tian hesitated. Seeing Yang Tian's hesitation, Soli was a little disappointed and said, I shouldn't have made such a request. I'm sorry. Yang Tian smiled and said, You misunderstood. It's not that I don't want to. Let me tell you the rules of our place. Zhu Wei and I came from the same earth, but we're not from the same era. The era I was born in didn't care much about this rule. In Zhu Wei's era, the inheritance of a skill required the consent of the elders. After Yang Tian finished speaking, Soli finally understood and nodded. In other words, you need Zhu Wei's consent? Yes, Yang Tian said. In fact, if Yang Tian passed the martial arts to Soli, Zhu Wei wouldn't say anything. However, Yang Tian felt that letting Zhu Wei make the decision was a form of respect for Zhu Wei. The car sped forward and soon entered Kai City. As soon as they entered the city, Soli had the car's smart driving system reduce the speed. At the intersection of the wide road, a three-dimensional advertisement was playing. A very beautiful woman was walking in high heels. Her walking posture was very beautiful in the eyes of men. That woman is quite beautiful. Yang Tian smiled. In fact, Yang Tian originally wanted to say that the woman's walking posture was very beautiful, but he felt that it was inappropriate and changed his words. Soli said, That's a famous movie star, Xinghai Zai. She's the only heir of the Xinghai family and has power and influence. Unfortunately, she doesn't like to cultivate. After Soli finished speaking, Yang Tian smiled and nodded. He didn't expect that a woman with such a special identity would advertise for 7 Light Rain and 7 Colors Company. The car passed through the city for a while and stopped in front of the Universe Bank. The two got out of the car and walked directly into the Universe Bank. After more than 3 hours, Yang Tian and Soli came out of the bank. Both of their faces were full of smiles. Both of them took out half of the star crystals they obtained in the last adventure and exchanged them for standard star crystals. Yang Tian had more than 60 million. Including the ones he didn't exchange, he had more than 100 million. This was a huge number. One had to know that Alpha Primordium spent 5 million to hire the 10 star guards, who were star kings. Soli's harvest was less, but it was still more than 40 million. With so many star crystals, just like the dead Alpha Primordium star said, Yang Tian and Soli wouldn't have to worry about cultivation resources for a long time. The path of cultivation to become a powerhouse didn't lack cultivation resources, especially hard currency like star crystals. A talented cultivator might run around the universe to earn money because they didn't have cultivation resources, thus wasting a lot of cultivation time. After getting on the car, the two returned to the school. Yang Tian didn't want to cause trouble for Seven Light Rain and her sister. He knew that he might be monitored. When Yang Tian returned to the school's advanced area and returned to the villa, he saw the Shinwu professor sitting at the door as if he had been waiting for him for a long time. Chapter 336. Seeing the Shinwu professor, Yang Tian guessed that the old man must have finished drinking his wine. As for the method of making wine, this is an invention of Earth. How could it be passed down so casually? Thus, every time Yang Tian made some wine, he would give some to the Shinwu professor. Shinwu professor, why are you sitting here? I went out for a while. Yang Tian walked forward, scratching his head and smiling. The little blue dragon lying on Yang Tian's shoulder looked at the Shinwu professor with eyes full of displeasure. It felt that this old man was too selfish. The Shinwu professor stood up. This old man didn't drink your wine for nothing. The Shinwu professor said. A fingernail-sized, silver-white, circular chip appeared in his hand. What is this? Looking at the chip that the Shinwu professor handed over, Yang Tian asked curiously. The Shinwu professor said, Imperial Star Virtual Battle Chip. Hearing the name of the chip, Yang Tian couldn't help but open his eyes wide and immediately took it from the Shinwu professor's hand. This was good stuff. Where's the wine? The Shinwu professor gave the chip to Yang Tian and asked with a smile. Yang Tian immediately took out a cylindrical container from his storage bracelet and gave it to the Shinwu professor. The container was filled with about 10 caddies of wine. You now owe the school 1,000,000 credits. If you wish to participate in the Divine General Exam at the end of the year, remember to return the credits. The Shinwu professor took the wine, smiled and said, then turned around and leisurely left. Yang Tian was stunned and couldn't help but cry out. He owed 1,000,000 credits. How could he return it? After returning to his room, Yang Tian immediately let Belle open the school system and looked at the exchange page of the advanced student area. Among them, there was the Imperial Star Virtual Battle Chip that the Shinwu professor gave to Yang Tian. The price on it was 1,000,000 credits. Every school item that could be exchanged after the exchange would have a one-time deduction of credits. Yang Tian only had 50,000 credits and obviously couldn't exchange for this chip. On Yang Tian's credit account, it showed that he had 50,000 credits, and behind it was a bracket. He owed 1,000,000. Obviously, the Shinwu professor knew that Yang Tian needed this item, but didn't have enough credits, so he used his authority as a professor to help him exchange and let Yang Tian owe him. This was a huge favor. The professors of the school normally wouldn't vouch for students. Next, Yang opened the Imperial Star Virtual Battle Chip. The explanation was simple. With this chip, one could connect to the universe's top virtual battle network, the Imperial Star. Virtual combat was actually a type of game application. It was a virtual game that ordinary people could play that simulated real combat scenes. As a cultivator, he obviously wasn't interested in the virtual battle Imperial Star. Because in this kind of game, whether it was the realism of the virtual battle or the battle scenes, it was too fake for cultivators. The Superstar Academy had also developed virtual games for students. Yang Tian had played it when he was in the intermediate student area. Although he found it fun, and the virtual battle scenes were very realistic, he still felt that it was somewhat lacking. After reaching the Star Realm, Yang Tian was no longer interested in the virtual battle world of the school. What kind of virtual battle would this Imperial Star be? Yang Tian was looking forward to it. Yang Tian didn't immediately close the exchange page of the advanced student area and browse through it one by one. There were many things on it that were very attractive to Yang Tian. For example, there was a set of armor that stated that it required 100 million credits to exchange. This was a set of blue armor made using rune technology called Superstar. According to the introduction, the Superstar armor was a top-notch armor made by Great Priest Taiyu, who was proficient in runes in the Superstar Divine Temple. This set of armor could only be exchanged with credits in the Superstar Academy. No matter how many star crystals one had, it couldn't be bought outside the academy. Moreover, there was only one set of Superstar armor. 100 million credits was really too much. This set of armor had been hanging there for more than 300 years. Many Superstar powerhouses had walked out of the academy, but no one had ever used 100 million credits to exchange for this set of armor. Since the establishment of the Superstar Academy, no one had been able to save 100 million credits during their time as a student. It must be known that in the academy, whether it was the lower or the advanced students, they had to go through an assessment every once in a while. And this assessment assessed the speed of the academy's progress. If they didn't pass, even the advanced students would be expelled from the academy. If there wasn't such an assessment system, not to mention the advanced students, even the intermediate students would be able to save up 100 million credits if they stayed in the academy and exchanged their time for credits. As for the description of this set of armor, it only stated that it was made by Great Priest Taiyu of the Superstar Divine Temple. As for its defensive capabilities and so on, there was no introduction. It must be known that Great Priest Taiyu was a very famous name. The armor he made was enough to explain everything. There was no need for any other introduction. It was like the ancient sword master, Oyezi on Earth. The swords he made were all famous. Even if he didn't make swords, the kitchen knives he made were all top-notch products. Rich people would pay a lot of money to buy them. After all, Oyezi himself was a very famous name. Yang Tian now knew 3 of the great priests of the Superstar Academy. There was the omniscient Great Priest Kaya, who he heard from Professor Shinwu. There was also the Great Priest Hong Yujio, who Qin Fei told him could see through people's hearts. There was also the Great Priest Taiyu, who was proficient in runes. In addition to these 3, there were many other famous great priests in the Superstar Divine Temple. Each of them was particularly powerful in their own way. They were all top-notch powerhouses in the universe. The reason why the Superstar Divine Temple was so famous in the universe and had existed since ancient times was naturally because of the existence of these top-notch powerhouses. This set of armor required 100 million credits. For now, Yang Tian could only look at it. Besides the armor, Yang Tian was also interested in weapons. Many of the weapons on the list were made with top-notch materials and runes. However, Yang Tian already had the Red Saber 15, so he didn't need any other weapons for the time being. After looking at it, he went to browse for other things. After more than half an hour, Yang Tian closed the exchange page and looked at the fingernail-sized virtual battle chip in his hand. There was no detailed explanation on the school system. He would only know if he logged in and took a look. After letting Bell close the school system, Yang Tian went to the room on the 2nd floor where the virtual network equipment was stored. As an advanced student, the virtual network equipment he could use was naturally the best. This was the first time Yang Tian used it after staying here. After lying down in the round virtual equipment cabin, Yang Tian adjusted his posture and the transparent cabin door closed. Bell commanded the transformable housekeeping robot to put the virtual battle chip in the round virtual equipment cabin's card slot. Chapter 337. When the little blue dragon saw that Yang Tian had entered the virtual cabin, it obediently lay on the side and waited quietly. After entering the virtual world, one's perception of the outside world was almost zero. Although it was very safe in the academy, the little blue dragon still had to stand guard at the side. Buzz, buzz, buzz. After the round virtual cabin was activated, a mechanical sound rang out. Countless tiny electronic contacts poked out of the virtual cabin and stopped about 10 meters or so away from Yang Tian's body. Yang Tian saw the dense number of contacts and felt a little strange. How could there be so many? One had to know that when he was in the intermediate student area, there weren't so many contacts when he entered the virtual network. However, when he thought about how this virtual equipment was more advanced and how it was inserted with a chip that he had exchanged for with 1,000,000 credits, he understood. The virtual cabin quickly emitted a special energy fluctuation and began to stimulate Yang Tian's brain, making Yang Tian feel his whole body go numb. This was also a process of entering the virtual world. If one resisted this kind of numbness, they wouldn't be able to enter the virtual world. The virtual network extracted a person's consciousness information and converted it into a digital transmission method. Most importantly, it worked on a person's brain. After the body in the real world was paralyzed, in the virtual world, the virtual system would create a new body for the player. To put it bluntly, this virtual technology was actually a method of deceiving the brain. Yang Tian immediately relaxed. This process was the process of going from being awake to being confused, and then to being awake again. Soon, Yang Tian found himself in a sealed blue space. Under his feet, there was a disc array that was shining with a blue light. Yang Tian looked at his body. He was still wearing his original clothes, unlike some virtual online games where he would be naked upon entering. Whoosh! Suddenly, a silver-white sphere flew over and stopped in front of Yang Tian. This was an auxiliary device. Welcome to the Star Royal Virtual Battle Network. The auxiliary device's voice was that of a young woman. Yang Tian didn't say anything. After the support device finished speaking, it continued. The Star Royal Virtual Battle Network is the only virtual network in the universe that doesn't have time delays. You can totally enjoy the pleasure of timely battles here. However, if you want to enjoy the fun of real combat, you need to sign a declaration. After the auxiliary device finished speaking, a text appeared in front of Yang Tian. The words on it were all universal language. Yang Tian had already learned it. After looking at the description, he was both surprised and excited. This was because the notice stated that cultivators below the star grade would not be able to receive it. After all, any injuries or deaths in battle will be transmitted directly to the user's brain. Then, after the brain received this information, the body in the real world would also be affected. If an arm was chopped off during a battle, then in reality, the brain would think that the arm was gone. After exiting the virtual world, even if the arm was real, the brain would not sense or command it. Similarly, if he died, his body would also die in the real world. This kind of setting scared a lot of people away. However, after reaching the star grade, the effects of such injuries and deaths would be greatly reduced. Even if one was injured, lost some organs, or was killed, star-grade cultivators would only need a short time to recover in the real world. Since there were disadvantages, there were also advantages. Since it was so real, the combat experience gained in this virtual world would also be firmly remembered by the brain. This meant that fighting in this virtual world was very similar to fighting in the real world. Plus, there was no 100% chance of death. That was why this virtual system refused to allow cultivators below the star grade to enter. The declaration stated that if cultivators below the star grade entered, the virtual world would not be responsible for any injuries or deaths. What made Yang Tian excited was that by fighting in this world, other than being able to gain combat experience, he would also be able to obtain corresponding rewards under special circumstances. Among the rewards, the most direct ones were stellar crystals and beast cores made from exotic beast cores. The grade of beast cores ranged from the star grade to the star grade to the star grade. Other than the beast cores, there would also be various galactic secret maps, and so on. There were all kinds of rewards. It was also stated that apart from the fixed rewards, the virtual world would also hold some activities to announce more generous special rewards every once in a while. If there were only rewards and no income, this virtual world would obviously not be able to operate. Therefore, cultivators who wanted to experience this world had to pay a certain amount of star crystals according to the time. The amount of payment was calculated according to the time on Ketla planet. It was about 100,000 star crystals per day. That was too expensive. However, 100,000 star crystals did not seem to be much in terms of the rewards. It depended on the number of cultivators who experienced this virtual world. Yang Tian estimated that it should not be that many. One had to know that in the Superstar Academy, one had to spend 1 million credits to buy a pass to enter this virtual world, which was the chip. After Yang Tian finished reading the declaration, he clicked on it to express his agreement. If he did not agree, he could directly leave. Then, the chip that Yang Tian obtained would be useless. He would not be able to use it next time. After agreeing, the next step was some procedures and settings. First, he had to open an anonymous account in the Universe Bank and bind it to the virtual world system to facilitate the deduction of fees. When he received the star crystals as a reward, it would be transferred to the bound account immediately. If it was a physical reward, such as a beast core, a secret star map, etc., it would be deposited in the Universe Bank immediately. After the Universe Bank received the news of the withdrawal, it would immediately send the item to the designated location. The whole process was confidential. The virtual world did not know about the star crystals and physical rewards that were given out. The registration process was very fast and simple. After Yang Tian opened the anonymous account, he memorized a long list of account numbers and passwords and immediately left the virtual world. Next, he needed to transfer the money from the real world to the virtual account. Yang Tian did not leave the virtual equipment cabin. He let Belle, who was waiting at the side, transfer 1 million star crystals to the anonymous account through the network. Next, Yang Tian logged in again. Although this process was troublesome, it was to keep it confidential. If the transfer was done in the virtual world, the virtual system would remember the user's bank account number and password in the real world. After entering again, Yang Tian was asked to enter his name. Yang Tian thought for a while, smiled, and said to the auxiliary device in the virtual world, "My name is Xiaolong." Chapter 338. After everything was ready, Yang Tian stepped onto the teleportation disc. After the blue light disappeared, what appeared in front of Yang Tian was a vast grassland with no end in sight. He was now on a high platform with a teleportation disc embedded in it. The spherical auxiliary device also appeared beside Yang Tian. At the same time, the auxiliary device notified Yang Tian that he had successfully deducted 100,000 stellar crystals. The moment he entered this virtual world, the 100,000 stellar crystals were gone. After the deduction notification, the auxiliary device notified him that the beginner mission had been activated. It was about 10 minutes on Earth time. Kill 10 Zerglings. Zerglings were Star Warrior level exotic beasts. Although this was a virtual combat world, it was still a virtual game in essence. When Yang Tian stepped off the teleportation platform and walked a few hundred meters in a random direction, 10 green lights suddenly flashed around him. When the green lights disappeared, 10 exotic beasts that looked like tigers and were covered in scales appeared. They were about 10 meters long. As soon as these exotic beasts appeared, they glared at Yang Tian. Their bodies were slightly bent, as if they were about to pounce on him at any moment. The scene was very realistic. After these exotic beasts appeared, a fishy smell floated in the air. Having just entered this world, Yang Tian did not have any weapons in his hands. It seemed that he could only fight these exotic beasts with his bare hands. In fact, this level was also a test for the practitioners who entered this virtual world for the first time. If they could not defeat these 10 exotic beasts, they could immediately return to the teleportation platform and leave. It was a chance for the practitioners who came here for the first time to give up. Although this was a virtual world, injuries and deaths would also cause harm to the body in the real world. Roar! Suddenly, one of the Zerglings roared and pounced on Yang Tian. Yang Tian stepped on the ground and rushed toward the exotic beast. When a man and the beast were about 20 meters apart, the Zerglings suddenly jumped up, opened its huge mouth, and bit at Yang Tian's neck. Its speed was very fast, comparable to a Star Warrior level practitioner. Facing the sudden, pouncing Zerglings, Yang Tian squinted his eyes, suddenly increasing his speed. In a flash, Yang Tian appeared beneath the Zergling's abdomen, his fist smashing into the Zergling's abdomen. With this soaring fist, the massive Zergling was sent flying. Roar! As the Zergling's body tumbled through the air, it released a sorrowful howl. Following that, its body crashed to the ground with a loud thud. Then, it remained motionless. At this moment, another Zergling pounced over. Pung, 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 pung. Yang Tian's figure flickered incessantly. In less than 2 minutes, he had slain 10 Zerglings. Moments after these virtual Zerglings died, a green light flashed and their corpses disappeared. After Yang Tian slew 10 Zerglings, he immediately received a notification from the support device. Beginner mission completed. Reward 1,000 battle strength points. What's a battle strength point? Yang Tian asked. The support device said, battle strength points reflect the combat ability of the virtual world experiencer. In battle, whether it's hunting exotic beasts or killing other experiencers, you can obtain a corresponding battle strength point. The more victories you have, the more battle strength points you obtain. At the same time, there's also a battle strength ranking for battle strength points. Some virtual world activities require sufficient battle strength points to participate. So, Sir Xiaolong, after entering this virtual world for the first time, you must increase your battle strength points as soon as possible, lest you miss out on some high reward activities. Yang Tian nodded and asked again, if the experiencers enter this world first, will their battle strength points be higher? The support device replied, yes, but the further you go, the harder it will be to obtain battle strength points. The experiencers who enter the virtual world later have enough time to catch up. Moreover, there are rewards, but there are also punishments. For example, if you can't complete some missions, your battle strength points will be deducted. After the support device finished speaking, another question appeared in Yang Tian's mind. He asked, in reality, even if every practitioner is of the same realm, their battle strength will definitely be different. Then, how do you determine a practitioner's basic battle strength? Just like what Yang Tian did just now, a mission that others might need 10 minutes to complete, he only needed 1 or 2 minutes to complete. This was a huge difference, and it definitely had something to do with the body in the real world. The support device replied, it's very simple. The virtual world reads the information in the experiencer's brains, and the experiencer's brains actually record the experiencer's cultivation and battle process in the real world. Then, the virtual world's AI system will analyze this information and add the experiencer's abilities and strength attributes in the real world to the experiencer's virtual body. Hearing this analysis method, Yang Tian couldn't help but be shocked. He asked again, if that's the case, then the Star Imperial virtual combat world will be able to completely know the experiencer's strength attributes, habits, and so on. Isn't this a kind of leak? If it was really as Yang Tian guessed, then the developer of this virtual combat world was too scary. However, the support device replied, Sir Xiaolong, you don't have to worry at all, because no matter how detailed the data obtained by the virtual world is, it's still just data, and it's just a simulation. For example, the power you possess, what we obtain is only superficial information, and we can't use this information to create this power in the real world. Moreover, the virtual system can't completely read the information in the experiencer's brains. Once it tries to read the deeper information in the experiencer's brains, it will cause a rejection reaction. After the support device finished speaking, Yang Tian thought carefully for a moment and finally understood a little. However, he was still a little worried. For example, if the person who entered this world created a special energy in the real world, just like Yang Tian who created the origin force, then what if this virtual world read the information of this creation process? Thinking up to this point, Yang Tian had the urge to leave this virtual world. As soon as this thought appeared in his mind, he suddenly felt the world around him tremble and become somewhat blurry. Sir Xiaolong, Do you want to leave the Star Imperial virtual combat world? At this time, the support device asked. Yang Tian calmed his mind and let out a long breath. The world around him instantly became clear again. At this time, Yang Tian smiled and said, "Cultivation is a complicated process, and creating energy suitable for oneself is also a complicated process. Even if you know the process, so what? Everyone's constitution is different." After saying this, Yang Tian turned his head and looked at the support device, saying, "What should I do next?" Now, Yang Tian no longer rejected this virtual world. Chapter 339. The reason why Yang Tian was not worried about his force cultivation method being stolen was because the composition of his force was too special. The blood force was easy. Everyone could have it. However, the dragon orb's force came from the little blue dragon. Want to cultivate the dragon orb's force? All right, first, go and capture a dragon. You also have to make the dragon take the initiative to establish a blood contract with you. Then there was the spirit force. It was also difficult to cultivate. Yang Tian had only managed to build his spirit force world with the help of Chu Yin Guing. Thinking about this, Yang Tian wanted to know where Chu Yin Guing was now. "Master, you can go through the regular training or choose the challenge mode." While Yang Tian was thinking about Chu Yin Guing, the assistive device replied. Yang Tian smiled. "The regular training is not exciting enough. Let's go with the challenge mode." The assistive device said, "All right. Now, you can only go through the beginner challenge mode. The combat power reward for the challenge mode is much higher than the training mode." After the assistive device finished speaking, a blue light lit up under Yang Tian's feet. A teleportation formation board appeared. Yang Tian did not hesitate and stepped on the teleportation formation board. After the teleportation was completed, a tall mountain appeared in front of Yang Tian. A small stone path extended from his feet to the mountain. Looking up from the foot of the mountain, one could see that the path was connected to 6 palaces. The 6 palaces were arranged in a row, each taller than the other. At this time, the assistive device said to Yang Tian, "Master, this is the beginner challenge mode. You need to pass through these palaces within a day. If you fail, 10,000 combat power will be deducted. If you succeed, you will be rewarded with more than 50,000 combat power." Yang Tian nodded and walked quickly along the stone path. Yang Tian was still not used to being in such a world. Because he did not have the little blue dragon with him, when Yang Tian was in the intermediate student area, he would sometimes look over his shoulder when he was fighting in the virtual space. It was the same in this virtual world. In the process of sprinting, Yang Tian's origin power surged out with a thought. The feeling of origin power flowing through his body was the same as in the real world. The simulation was so realistic. As soon as Yang Tian's origin power appeared, the auxiliary device reported, "Sire, your strength has a damage value of 100,000, a transmission speed of 31,000, a duration of 5,000, and an explosive number of 120,000. Total destructive power is estimated to be 83,271. Yang Tian didn't care much about the data reported by the auxiliary device. However, as soon as his strength data appeared, it immediately attracted the attention of the AI program that was monitoring Star Royal's virtual world. Such a powerful strength value was the highest combat strength value that had appeared since the launch of Star Royal's virtual battle world. In terms of destructive power, it had already far surpassed that of a star-grade cultivator. Only a small number of superstar experts would encounter such a situation after entering this virtual realm. Moreover, the destructive power of those superstar cultivators wasn't even as strong as Yang Tian's. Of course, this didn't mean that Yang Tian could already fight superstar cultivators with his current combat strength. This virtual world had its own special characteristics. This was a virtual world. Regardless of the combat strength of the cultivators in the real world, they had to compete with each other on the same level as much as possible. It could be said that this virtual world was specially designed for star-grade cultivators and a small number of superstar cultivators in the initial stage. If one's cultivation level was low, they wouldn't be able to enter this world. If one's cultivation level was high, they wouldn't be interested in this virtual world. As Yang Tian sprinted forward, he soon arrived at the entrance of the first palace. This was an exquisite palace. Yang Tian wasn't interested in admiring its magnificence and elegance. He rushed straight into the palace hall. What appeared before Yang Tian's eyes was a 2.5-meter-tall giant wearing red armor and wielding a weapon that looked like a spear. Roar! As soon as Yang Tian appeared, the giant let out an angry roar. This was a virtual character. Yang Tian wasn't interested in greeting him. He paused for a moment before rushing over. The force in his body exploded as he threw out a punch. Powerful force rushed out from Yang Tian's fist. He also used his mind power. This virtual world read the information in Yang Tian's brain. During the process of battle, the process of using his power also came from the information in his brain. This made the process of Yang Tian using his power the same as if he was in the real world. Enveloped by mental power, the force left Yang Tian's fist and sped up all of a sudden during its flight. The special nature of mind power allowed the power to transcend time and space. Facing Yang Tian's punch, the red-armored giant could have dodged it. He didn't expect Yang Tian's fist to suddenly speed up. Boom! A muffled sound rang out. Yang Tian's fist landed on the red-armored giant's chest, sending the giant's huge body flying. Those who were hit by Yang Tian's force, other than those who were much stronger than Yang Tian, were basically dead. After landing, the red-armored giant didn't get up again. Just like in the real world, after the red-armored giant's body landed, it didn't move anymore and even started to melt. After the virtual world system confirmed that the red-armored giant had been killed by Yang Tian, the giant's body turned into a red light and disappeared. At the same time, the palace building Yang Tian was and also disappeared. Yang Tian quickly passed through the first palace. Yang Tian didn't stop at all and continued to run to the next palace. A few minutes later, Yang Tian arrived at the second palace. In the second palace, there was an exotic beast that looked like a giant python. Yang Tian also used a punch to kill this exotic beast. In the third palace, there was a very beautiful woman in blue armor. When Yang Tian saw this woman, he couldn't help but be stunned, because this woman was really beautiful, and her body was filled with a sense of charm. It wasn't fake. Yang Tian killed it with a punch. In the fourth palace, there was an enlarged zergling. Yang Tian used 2 punches to kill it. The reason why he used 2 punches was because this exotic beast was really too big. Its body length was 15 meters, and its height was 5 meters. He was afraid that he wouldn't be able to kill it with 1 punch. In the fifth palace, there was a thin and weak figure in black armor. Its movement speed was very fast. Yang Tian used 3 punches to kill it. When Yang Tian arrived at the sixth palace, the support device suddenly notified him. Sir, because your combat strength is too strong, the system will increase the enemy's combat strength. Of course, after victory, you will obtain more combat strength. Yang Tian frowned and didn't say anything. In the sixth palace, there was also a giant with a big fork in its hand and a long tail behind it. Yang Tian thought that this half-human, half-beast giant with its combat strength increased would be very strong. In the end, a minute later, Sir, congratulations. You have obtained 100,000 combat strength, the support device said. Chapter 340. Hearing that it was 100,000 combat power, Yang Tian could not help but laugh. This was double the combat power of the regular rewards. What do I do next? Yang Tian asked after taking a few deep breaths. Although the last level had ended in less than a minute, Yang Tian was exhausted. There was even a wound on his arm. If he had not dodged quickly, his arm would have been crippled. If that happened, he did not know if it would affect his arm in the real world. If it did not work, he could only chop off his arm and let it grow out again. That would be very painful. Sir, because you already have 100,000 combat power, you can sign up for this virtual world's reward activities. However, a certain amount of combat power will be deducted. After the auxiliary device finished speaking, it listed a series of rewards for Yang Tian. This was displayed in the form of a page in front of Yang Tian. When he first entered, Yang Tian had spent 100,000 stellar crystals. He had to earn it back, right? Also, to buy the chip, Yang Tian had spent 1 million credits. In total, it was worth 10 million stellar crystals. In fact, in Yang Tian's heart, the combat experience gained here was not as important as the rewards. Yang Tian wanted to level up quickly. Although he now had more than 100 million stellar crystals, he felt that it was not enough. On the list of activities listed by the auxiliary device, the rewards range from 10,000 stellar crystals to 500,000 stellar crystals. There were more than 10 activities that Yang Tian could participate in. 500,000. Yang Tian browsed through the list and chose the activity with the most generous reward. As soon as Yang Tian finished speaking, the 100,000 combat power that he had just obtained was deducted. The combat power displayed on the screen became 1,000. If he wanted to participate in the next reward activity, he would have to accumulate more combat power. Moreover, challenges like the one that Yang Tian had just completed were not allowed to participate in anymore. This was not like completing a dungeon in an ordinary online game, where one could repeatedly do it. After accepting this activity, a disk array that was emitting blue light appeared in front of Yang Tian again. When the teleportation was completed, what appeared in front of Yang Tian was a lively scene. This was a small town filled with people. Seeing the bustling scene in the town, Yang Tian felt that this was a real virtual world. He was not playing a single-player game. The town's scenery was very beautiful. The houses in the town were arranged in an orderly manner. They were all small buildings made of wood and looked very exquisite. Light red trees were planted on both sides of the wide road. In addition to the town, there were also plants of this color outside the town. In the sky, a star the size of a plate emitted a warm light, illuminating the town. Sir, the event is about to begin. Please get ready. After Yang Tian appeared in the town, the support device immediately reminded Yang Tian. What kind of reward was it? It was nothing more than competition. After a while, many exotic beasts would appear outside the town. These exotic beasts range from the Stellar Warrior level to the Stellar Zone Lord level. Killing a Stellar Warrior level exotic beast would give 10 reward points. Killing a Stellar Warrior level exotic beast would give 100 reward points. A Stellar King level exotic beast would give 1,000 reward points. A Stellar Lord level exotic beast would give 10,000 reward points. A Stellar Zone Lord level exotic beast would give 100,000 reward points. The exotic beasts were randomly generated. Exotic beasts of the same level were all different. Yang Tian calculated the time. According to Earth's time, there were about 15 minutes left. There were many cultivators in the town. There were no less than 1,000 of them. If each person spent half a day to obtain 100,000 combat power points, these 1,000 people would have to spend 50 million star crystals for this reward event. Only 100 people would be able to obtain star crystals as a reward. The person who obtained the most reward points, i.e., the first place, would receive 500,000 star crystals. The second place would receive 300,000 star crystals. The third place would receive 150,000 star crystals. The fourth place would receive 100,000 star crystals. The fifth place would receive 50,000 star crystals. The last 95 people would receive 20,000 star crystals each. Based on this calculation, the virtual realm's income from this event would reach more than 40 million star crystals. After deducting 50% of the operating expenses, the company that set up this virtual realm would earn more than 20 million star crystals. This was too profitable. Yang Tian had not expected that there would be so many stellar realm cultivators entering this virtual realm. Just this event alone had already attracted thousands of people. It was no wonder that when Yang Tian had first entered this virtual realm, he had seen all sorts of beast cores, galactic secret maps, and other valuable things. What could he not buy with this kind of money? When Yang Tian arrived at this small town, he glanced around and found a beverage stall by the street to sit down. As soon as he sat down, a young woman came up to Yang Tian and asked him what he wanted to drink. She even took out a drink list for Yang Tian. One could also enjoy life in this virtual realm. When one was tired from fighting, the cultivators who entered this world could also chat. If a man and a woman got along well, they could even find a place to have sex. Plus, the feeling was no different from the real world. This was also the reason why virtual realms were so popular in the universe. Many people could easily obtain things that they could not obtain in the real world in the virtual realm. For cultivators, becoming stronger was their life goal. Almost no one would play virtual games that ordinary people played. Therefore, even though this kind of virtual combat world had harsh settings and expensive entry crystal chips, many cultivators still entered. There were only a few stellar realm cultivators on a planet. However, in the entire universe, there were many of them. Even if one wanted a drink here, they would have to spend star crystals. Yang Tian looked at the list and casually ordered a cup of juice from an unknown fruit. This was the cheapest drink, priced at 10 star crystals. This was too much. Yang Tian sighed as he looked at the green juice that was quickly placed on the table. In the distant past, the Music Realm Star Zone had been a beautiful place. There had been a huge tree growing in this star zone. The tree's roots had been planted on many planets, and the stars had revolved around it, providing heat for this huge tree. It had been a beautiful space wonder. But now, the huge tree had been destroyed, and the entire Music Realm Star Zone had been plunged into darkness. No one dared to drive a spaceship through this star zone, as the entire star zone was filled with meteorites formed by shattered planets and tree fragments. In the periphery of this star zone, there was a planet called the Black Shattered Star. This planet had originally not been called this. Ever since the Music Realm Star Zone had been destroyed, it had changed its name. Its original name had been too long ago, and very few people knew about it. Chuyan Guiying was now living on this planet. She had already stayed there for more than a year. The planet's environment was harsh, and the temperature was extremely low. Black snow covered in dust was falling all the time. The oxygen needed to sustain human life was decreasing day by day. When Yang Tian entered the virtual combat world, Chuyan Guiying was running nonstop. More than 10 planet-grade powerhouses were chasing after her. If not for the dim light and harsh climate of this planet, she would have been caught long ago. Chapter 341. In the distant past, the cultivators who lived in the music boundary starfield cultivated mental power. After that, a group of cultivators from the music boundary starfield were exiled to a planet called Ipa by the superstar divinity temple. Chuyan Guiying came from Ipa, so she was naturally a descendant of the music boundary starfield. After Chuyan Guiying came to the Black Shattered Star, she wanted to find the survivors of the music boundary starfield. She searched for them for a whole year and finally found them. Chuyan Guiying came just in time. After an old woman saw Chuyan Guiying and confirmed that she was the descendant of the music boundary starfield's cultivators, she gave a seed the size of a finger to Chuyan Guiying when her life was in danger. The old woman told Chuyan Guiying that this ordinary-looking seed was the seed of the world tree. She had to let it take root on this planet and rebuild the music boundary starfield. After the old woman died, Chuyan Guiying accidentally revealed her mental power and was discovered. She had been hunted down ever since. Clearly, the cultivators who were pursuing Chuyan Guiying were also after the seeds of the world tree. Huff! Huff! Chuyan Guiying was panting heavily as she ran away. She cultivated mental power, so her physical strength was weaker than cultivators of the same level. While being hunted, she had used her mental power to kill dozens of cultivators who were stronger than her. She had used up a lot of her mental power. If she did not leave this planet, she would be caught soon. Fortunately, there was a hidden teleportation formation in front of her. However, it had lost its ability to teleport because too much time had passed and it had run out of energy. This was what the old woman had told her before she died. Ever since the music boundary starfield was destroyed, a large group of mysterious cultivators had been controlling this planet and all the teleportation formations. In addition to the teleportation formations, They also prevented the stellar crystals from flowing into this planet and monitored everyone. Under such strict surveillance, no one could leave with the seed of the world tree. Under the dim light and the black snow that was as big as goose feathers, Chu Yin Gang quickly arrived at the location the old woman had told her. This place, a long time ago, was a valley between two small mountains. Now it was already covered in thick black snow. After Chu Yin Gang arrived, she carefully glanced around and gritted her teeth. She took out her cane from her storage bracelet and began to use her powerful mental power. To her, this was her last stand. This time, if they couldn't leave this place successfully, they would die. She would rather destroy the seed of the world tree than let it fall into the hands of those mysterious people. Chu Yin and Gu Ingli's own mind power formed an invisible drill that spun rapidly. A series of sizzling noise was heard as a large amount of black snow was rolled up, forming a black tornado. A few minutes later, the swirling airflow finally reached the bottom. Chu Yin Gang panted. She withdrew her mental power and jumped in. A few kilometers away, a group of black armor cultivators was rushing toward Chu Yin Gang's location. Chu Yin Gang, who had reached the bottom of the hole, used her mental power to activate the ruby on her cane to illuminate the situation at the bottom of the hole. What made her excited was that there was indeed a teleportation formation disk about 5 meters in diameter at the bottom of the hole. After stabbing her cane into the ground, Chu Yin Gang took out the stellar crystal from her storage bracelet. This formation disk could also be activated by using the energy of the stellar crystal. 5 minutes later, a group of black-armored cultivators finally arrived. They saw a huge hole with a diameter of dozens of meters. A faint blue light was emitted from the hole. Chu Yin Gang had successfully activated the formation disk and left this planet. You stay here and report this to the higher-ups. The rest of you, follow me. The leader of the black-armored cultivators ordered without hesitation. While Chu Yin Gang was escaping, Yang Tian was preparing for a battle in the virtual world. There was still about 10 minutes before the reward event began. Yang Tian drank the odd-tasting fruit juice as he listened to the discussions around him. Who do you think will be first this time? It must be the guy called I'm Very Strong. He has won first place 10 times in a row. That's 5 million stellar crystals. Yeah, that guy must have broken even long ago. I heard that other than this reward event, he has also participated in other events. I don't think so. Didn't you notice the change in the combat strength ranking? I was looking at the combat strength ranking today. When I flipped to the 1000th place, I saw a guy called Xiao Long suddenly appear and gain 100,000 combat strength in an instant. The universe is huge. There are all kinds of elites. It's nothing strange. There's nothing special about this kind of reward event. That event will only be considered a reward event after 3 days. Are you talking about the Stellar Warlord level Beast Core? It's worth 100 million stellar crystals outside. I don't want to think about it. My combat strength isn't enough. I can go and watch the fun when the time comes. Are you qualified? You need to have a combat strength of 10 million. Haha, I have just enough. Yang Tian did not expect that someone would mention him. Also, a large-scale event in 3 days would require a combat strength of 10 million. Then, he would have to work hard to earn combat strength in the next 3 days. He had to get his hands on a Stellar Warlord level Beast Core. Yang Tian was too embarrassed to ask Qin Fei for a second Stellar Warlord level Beast Core. Soon, the time was up. The auxiliary device notified Yang Tian, "Sir, the event has begun." Yang Tian smiled and nodded. He had to get the Stellar Warlord level Beast Core. He could not give up on the 500,000 stellar crystals in front of him. Even a mosquito had meat. Moreover, this was 500,000 star crystals. When the time was up, the cultivators who were resting in the town rushed out from every intersection of the town. The exotic beasts that appeared were about 5 to 10 kilometers away from the town. The number of exotic beasts that appeared was fixed. If they were all killed within the specified time, the event would end. If they were not all killed, the event would also end when the time was up. Once out of the town, Yang Tian did not rush to the exotic beasts like the others. Instead, He walked slowly and observed the situation around him, feeling the energy waves around him. The more powerful the exotic beast that he killed, the more reward points he would receive. Killing a stellar sector, Lord-level exotic beast was equivalent to killing 10,000 stellar warlord-level exotic beasts. Roar. Suddenly, a beast's roar came from the forest in front of him. At the same time, a powerful aura emanated from there. Yang Tian judged from the aura that it was a stellar king-level exotic beast. Before Yang Tian could see the appearance of that exotic beast, he saw dozens of people rushing towards it. Following that, a series of rumbling sounds could be heard, and the ground shook a few times. Chapter 342. Yang Tian ignored the low-level star warrior-level exotic beasts around him and sprinted towards the forest in front of him. Those low-level exotic beasts were just like the Zerglings. Killing one of them would only give him 10 reward points, which was too much of a waste of time. There were many people scattered around Yang Tian, and they were all fighting with the low-level exotic beasts. The scene was extremely heated. The roars of beasts and the sounds of fighting were incessant. After entering the forest, what appeared before Yang Tian's eyes was a scene of an intense battle. More than a dozen people in various armors were besieging a behemoth. The behemoth was about 5 meters long and 3 meters tall. Its entire body was covered with red scales, and its head and body were somewhat similar to that of a horse. There was also a long and sharp horn on its forehead. Its 4 legs were thick and strong, and they were very similar to tiger claws. Its long tail was like a scorpion's tail. Star number 2, attack its legs. I'll attract its attention. There were a total of 11 people besieging the behemoth. During the battle, one of the burly men in red armor was constantly yelling at the others. It seemed that the 11 of them should be a small team. The burly man in red armor was the captain of the team. Although there was no team in this virtual battle world, it was flexible. For example, a few people would team up and hunt a powerful exotic beast together. When the exotic beast was on the verge of death, one of the team members would send out to deal the final blow to the exotic beast. The person who killed the exotic beast in the end would receive reward points. Then, the team would besiege the next exotic beast, and another person would deal the final blow to the exotic beast. Yang Tian was about 50 meters away from the group of people, and he watched with interest. Those people were all holding weapons in their hands, and from time to time, they would slash at the behemoth's body, causing a series of popping sounds. However, the scales on the behemoth's body were extremely hard, and each slash could only cut off a few strands of hair. The giant beast that was besieged was furious, but from the looks of it, its defense and attack power were very strong, but its speed was not. Every time it attacked, it would be dodged. Finally, someone found the giant beast's weakness. He stabbed the giant beast in the stomach with his dagger, leaving a long gash on the giant beast's stomach. The giant beast was injured, so it became even more ferocious. It kept swinging its tail and slapping the ground from time to time, making the ground rumble. This giant beast was also very smart. It knew that its abdomen was its weakness. After it was injured, it became very careful and did not allow anyone to attack its abdomen. The 11 of them besieged the giant beast for a few minutes, but there was still no clear victor. What a waste of time! Yang Tian thought. Just as Yang Tian was about to leave and go somewhere else to look for high-level exotic beasts, he was unexpectedly noticed by one of the 11 people in blue armor. This person seemed to be in a bad mood when he saw Yang Tian standing at the side and watching. He shouted at Yang Tian, "Hey, what are you standing there for? Hurry up and scram. Are you trying to steal my points?" Yang Tian originally did not have such intentions. But now, seeing the other party glaring at him, wanted to chase him away, Yang Tian felt very uncomfortable and could not help but frown. Seeing that Yang Tian was unmoved and was still standing there, the person in blue armor who shouted at Yang Tian said again, "Scram. If you don't scram, we will kill you as well. Don't you know that there is no punishment for killing people in this virtual world?" Before that person could finish his words, Yang Tian had already moved. Pong! In a flash, Yang Tian appeared in front of the person in blue armor who shouted at him. Under that person's shocked gaze, Yang Tian slapped his head. The powerful force instantly smashed that person's head into pieces. Yang Tian shook his hand to get rid of the blood on it and said coldly, "Watch your mouth." Pong! Yang Tian's act of killing caused the people who were fighting the giant beast to be stunned. One of them was distracted and was sent flying by the giant beast's tail. "Kill him." The leader of the red-armored men suddenly reacted. He pointed at Yang Tian and shouted loudly. Huff, huff, huff. Several sounds of wind could be heard. Other than 2 people who stayed behind to continue fighting the giant beast, the other 8 people quickly surrounded Yang Tian and surrounded Yang Tian. The person who was sent flying by the giant beast was actually fine. However, the way he looked at Yang Tian was especially cold. Because of Yang Tian, the person's chest armor had been shattered. His chest had been slashed open by the giant beast's tail and was bleeding. As soon as these people surrounded Yang Tian moved. His rapidly moving body rubbed against the air and made an ear-piercing sound. Pong! Yang Tian appeared in front of the injured person and punched him in the chest. He had just been sent flying by the giant beast's tail, and now he was sent flying by Yang Tian. After this person fell to the ground, he immediately stopped moving. After sending one person flying, Yang Tian rushed to the next person and punched him. Pong! Pong! 2 dull sounds of impact could be heard. After Yang Tian sent another person flying, he was also hit by a blade. Although he wasn't wearing armor, his strong spiritual power and force had already formed an invisible energy defense outside his body. Yang Tian and the person who was sent flying by Yang Tian were sent flying at the same time and crashed to the ground. Yang Tian was fine. After the blade that slashed his back broke through his energy defense, its power was greatly reduced and only caused some superficial injuries. After landing, he jumped up. As for the person who was hit by Yang Tian, he didn't get up again. Just like the 2 people who were killed by Yang Tian, his body turned into a red light and disappeared. Yang Tian, who got up, looked calm, and continued to rush to the next person. When the leader of the red-armored men saw Yang Tian's ferocity, he couldn't help but open his eyes wide. What kind of person did the teammate who was killed provoke? However, he still had to kill him. The red-armored man gritted his teeth and clenched the large blade in his hand. Pong! 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 Fighting next to the giant beast, the group of people and the giant beast fought in a chaotic battle. During this process, the giant beast took the opportunity to use its horn to pierce through the body of a black-armored man. People were constantly sent flying by Yang Tian's fists. Yang Tian was also slashed several times. There were a few times when he was almost beheaded. Cultivators who could experience this virtual combat world were not to be trifled with. Yang Tian's advantage, other than the force attribute recognized by the system, was not much of an advantage to other cultivators. When Yang Tian killed another 5 people, there were only 3 left. The remaining 3 people no longer wanted to fight with Yang Tian and turned to flee. Next, it was Yang Tian's turn to face the giant beast alone. Yang Tian, who was covered in wounds, fought with the giant beast for more than a minute. Then, he punched the giant beast's waist. Powerful force drilled into the giant beast's body. Boom! The giant beast's huge body finally fell. Not far away, the cultivators who saw this scene couldn't help but open their eyes wide. Sir, congratulations on killing a stellar-level giant beast. You have received 1,000 reward points. The auxiliary device reminded Yang Tian in a timely manner. During this process, Yang Tian did not receive any notifications when he killed the other cultivators. It seems that killing people here would not result in any punishment. Chapter 343. Chuyan Gang was very lucky. Black Shatterstar's disk array had not been used for a long time, but the disk array connected to it was still usable. When the blue light disappeared, Chuyan Gang found herself on a very prosperous planet. There were silver-white buildings in front of her, and countless small cars were shuttling through the streets between the buildings. The disc array she was on was located at a small teleportation point at the edge of the city. The staff at the teleportation point glanced at Chu Yin Gang, but did not say anything. This teleportation point was clearly a one-way service. Other than the disc array Chu Yin Gang came out of, there were 5 other discs at the teleportation point. Although the place was not big, there were many people coming and going. It was very busy. Although Chu Yin Gang had never seen such a prosperous scene, she reacted immediately. She glanced at the formation plate behind her and immediately rushed out of the transmission area. Her figure quickly disappeared among the tall buildings that towered into the sky. It was better to come to a planet like this. With more people, it would be easier to hide. As long as she kept leaving through the teleportation point, Chu Yin Gang did not believe that those people would be able to catch up to her. About 2 minutes after Chu Yin Gang left, the group of black armored men who were chasing after her also walked out of the teleportation portal where Chu Yin Gang had left. Seeing the situation before him, the leader of the black armored people gritted his teeth, looking very helpless. If Chu Yin Gang was teleported to a desolate planet, they were confident that they could catch up to her. But now, they had lost their last chance. Helpless, the leader could only order his subordinates to spread out and continue searching the planet. As she kept running, Chu Yin Gang kept changing her direction. After more than an hour, she ran from the edge of the city to the center of the city. When she saw a large teleportation point, she frowned. She rolled her eyes and gave up on entering the teleportation point. Instead, she turned and walked toward the main road on the left. Chu Yin Gang was very smart and immediately changed her mind. She felt that those people who were chasing her were very likely waiting for her at the teleportation point. Fortunately, Chu Yin and Guing didn't enter the teleportation area because there was a young man who had taken off his black armor and was standing guard at the entrance of the teleportation area. If I can't leave like this, then... After coming up with an idea, Chu Yin Gang slapped her forehead and chuckled. After speeding through the city for more than 10 minutes, Chu Yin Gang walked into a shop that specialized in selling women's clothing. Half an hour later, when Chu Yin Gang walked out of the women's clothing store, she had already changed her appearance. She was also a beauty, but her skin had become snow white. Her eyebrows had been plucked and replaced with fake eyebrows. Her orange-red curly hair was pulled straight, turning into shoulder-length blue hair. She had also changed her tattered dress into a white shirt, a black suit, and a short black skirt. She wore nude stockings and a pair of black high heels. Chu Yin Gang's outfit was a popular female outfit in the universe. What was worth mentioning was that she was wearing a brand called Fei Fei from head to toe. The brand's logo was a pair of sisters. These were the products of Seven Light Rain and Seven Kai's female products company. Chu Yin and Guing came out half an hour later to learn how to walk in high heels. Her learning ability was very strong, so she learned it very quickly. However, the speed of walking was really too slow when dressed like this. Chu Yin Gang was carrying a red bag. After coming out of the shopping mall, she looked at both sides of the road and waved her hand. A driverless car immediately drove over and stopped beside Chu Yin and Guing. After getting in the car, Chu Yin Gang took out a storage bracelet from her bag and took out a few star crystals from it. After paying a star crystal, the car with an automatic driving system drove Chu Yin Gang to the entrance of a teleportation area. After getting out of the car, Chu Yin Gang walked into the teleportation area without looking sideways. After entering the teleportation area, Chu Yin Gang said to the staff there, "Go to Ketla Planet." While speaking, Chu Yin Gang also changed her voice. When the female staff heard that Chu Yin Gang wanted to go to Ketla Planet, she shook her head with a smile and said, "Sorry, our teleportation area doesn't have direct service to Ketla Planet." Chu Yin Gang got the information from a female staff member in a women's clothing store because Ketla Planet was more famous. There was the Superstar Academy there. Moreover, Ketla Planet was a prosperous planet. When Chu Yin Gang heard that this teleportation area couldn't directly go to Ketla Planet, she frowned and asked, "Are there any other teleportation areas that can directly go to Ketla Planet?" The female staff member said, No, but you can go to Zhongyang planet. Once you reach that planet, you can directly teleport to Ketla planet. Chu Yin Gang smiled and said, All right, let's go to Zhongyang planet. The female staff member nodded. After paying 1,000 star crystals, Chu Yin Gang stepped on the teleportation array disk. Zhongyang planet was also a prosperous planet. Chu Yin Gang didn't leave the teleportation area and immediately paid the star crystals to reach Ketla planet. After coming out of the teleportation area, Chu Yin Gang finally heaved a sigh of relief. After 2 teleportations, those people shouldn't be able to find her, right? One had to know that she had changed her appearance. Moreover, the universe was so big. If she wanted to find someone without a way to contact them, it would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens. What Chu Yin Gang didn't expect was that she was still noticed during the teleportation process. That was because she had paid with stellar crystals directly. Although there were many teleportation areas on a prosperous planet, there were very few who paid the star crystals directly. Moreover, it was 2 consecutive teleportations. Moreover, on a prosperous planet, there were cameras installed at every corner. It wouldn't take long for Chu Yin Gang to be found. However, Chu Yin Gang didn't know any of this. If she came from Earth, she might have thought of this problem. However, she was born on Ipa planet, Crimson Flame planet, and Black Shatter planet. She hadn't seen much high-tech equipment. Chu Yin Gang began to adapt to life on Ketla planet. She planned to stay here for a while and familiarize herself with this world before looking for Yang Tian. That's right, looking for Yang Tian. Chu Yin Gang knew that she was weak. In order to realize the hope of rebuilding Lu Jie's starfield, she needed Yang Tian's help. Of course, Yang Tian didn't know that Chu Yin Gang had already arrived on Ketla planet. At this moment, he was fighting in the virtual world for the reward of 500,000 star crystals. Chapter 344. Pung 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 pung. Yang Tian's figure flashed rapidly. Wherever he passed, the star warrior level beasts would fly up one after another. The exotic beasts that were hit by Yang Tian and crashed to the ground were all dead. Soon, they disappeared with a flash of red light. Yang Tian's reward points were also refreshed at a fast speed. In 2 minutes, Yang Tian had killed hundreds of star warrior level beasts and accumulated more than 2,000 reward points. The reward for killing such a low-level exotic beast was really low. Yang Tian thought helplessly. However, the stronger exotic beasts hadn't appeared yet. He could only kill the weaker exotic beasts first. He couldn't just stand there and wait, could he? At this time, it had only been about 3 minutes since Yang Tian killed the giant beast. This is too amazing. Did he use an external program to cheat? That's very likely. Otherwise, how could he be so powerful? Although the Star Warrior level beast was weak, it was killed by him with a single punch. And those few people just now, it died too unjustly. They will miss the reward event in 3 days. Yang Tian could hear the discussions of the cultivators around him. After Yang Tian heard this, he could not help but laugh. The external program that these people were talking about was cheating, right? Yang Tian, who possessed the terrifying power of the Force, was like a cheat in this virtual combat world. Other cultivators could easily kill Star Warrior level beasts, but they would not be able to do it as cleanly as Yang Tian. Most importantly, these Star Warrior level exotic beasts had very strong vitality. Other cultivators would need to attack many times to kill them, but Yang Tian only needed 1 punch to kill them. Roar! Suddenly, a deafening roar of a beast resounded. This beast roar was even louder than the roar of the Stellar King Grade Beast. At the same time, a powerful aura erupted along with the voice. It's a Nebula Domain Lord Beast, a cultivator suddenly shouted. Only a Stellar Domain level beast could possess such a powerful aura. Yang Tian's eyes lit up. He immediately rushed in the direction of the beast's roar. Killing a Stellar Domain level alien beast would give him 100,000 reward points. To Yang Tian, there was no way he could miss this opportunity. Yang Tian was not the only one. The other cultivators also ran over as well. After staying in this virtual combat world for a long time, one would realize that sometimes one could still rely on luck to pick up a bargain. For example, this stellar domain level mutated beast could not be hunted by a single cultivator. When the time came, there would be many people attacking it. In such a group attack, the powerful exotic beast would eventually die, and the person who dealt the final blow would be able to obtain 100,000 reward points. And in a group attack, it was very likely that his casual attack would be the final attack. Nebula Domain, Lord-level mutated beasts were rare in this sort of activity. If one missed this opportunity, one would have to wait for a long time. A few seconds later, when Yang Tian arrived, there were already people besieging the stellar domain-level mutated beast that had appeared all of a sudden. Yang Tian's eyes widened when he saw this mutated beast. This mutated beast was actually a silvery white Tyrannosaurus rex. It was very similar to the Tyrannosaurus rex Yang Tian had killed on the Red Flame planet. However, this mutated beast was not as big as the Tyrannosaurus rex. Its body was at most 15 meters long, yet its movement speed was very fast. The silvery white skin on its body looked like it was made of alloy. It was shiny and shiny, making it look like a mechanical dragon. The Tyrannosaurus rex could also spit out flames. The temperature of the flames was very high, and the area they covered was very wide. Dozens of cultivators wielding weapons were currently fighting the Tyrannosaurus rex. These people were cultivators who had been in the vicinity previously. In addition to these people, even more cultivators were rushing over. Many people were like Yang Tian when they arrived. They stood by the side and watched. Some of the cultivators fighting the Tyrannosaurus rex saw that others were watching and retreated. There were also some onlookers who joined in the battle against the Tyrannosaurus rex. After staying here for a long time, they all understood one thing. The first to rush in might not necessarily be able to reap the benefits of the others. The system's setting was that the last person to finish off the mutated beast would be rewarded. Bang! 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 The cultivators' weapons kept slashing at the Tyrannosaurus rex's body. Even with their powerful strength, they could only leave shallow marks on the surface of its body. Yang Tian observed that there was an invisible force on the surface of the Tyrannosaurus rex's body that was protecting it. When the cultivators slashed at the Tyrannosaurus rex's body, the power of their weapons would be reduced by more than half. This Tyrannosaurus rex was not as clumsy as the mutated beast that Yang Tian had killed before. Although it was huge, its movements were very agile. This made the cultivators who were attacking it fearful. When they attacked, they had to be on guard against the Tyrannosaurus rex's counterattack. Boom! Suddenly, the Tyrannosaurus rex spat out a stream of flames toward the dozen or so cultivators below it. The cultivators who were attacked by the flames were shocked and hurriedly dodged. The speed of the flames was very fast. Two unlucky cultivators were blocked by others and were engulfed by the high-temperature flames, turning into a pile of black ash. The temperature of the flames seemed to be even higher than the temperature of the little blue dragon's flames in the real world. Boom! 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 The silver-white Tyrannosaurus rex kept spitting out flames, and the cultivators surrounding it had no choice but to run far away. Soon, there was not a single person around the Tyrannosaurus rex. At this moment, there was a loud shout. A young man holding a silver-white broadsword jumped out from the crowd and slashed at the Tyrannosaurus rex. I'm very strong. Seeing this young man, someone recognized him and shouted in surprise. I'm very strong. His name was ordinary, but it was very domineering. Yang Tian looked at this person and smiled. Pum! Facing my strongest slash, the Tyrannosaurus rex quickly turned around and swept its tail on my strongest slash, creating a loud sound. I'm very strong was sent flying along with his broadsword. However, after flipping a few times in the air, he landed firmly on the ground. At this moment, Yang Tian narrowed his eyes and suddenly jumped up and rushed toward the Tyrannosaurus rex. After flying dozens of meters in the air, Yang Tian flipped in the air and quickly descended. Facing Yang Tian's attack from the sky, the Tyrannosaurus Rex raised its head and spat out a stream of white and red flames at Yang Tian. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.